catches it. Steps up. Now we'll throw it for Monunga, and it's incomplete. Oh, it's tipped. It's intercepted. It was tipped into the hands of Hancock, and Hancock along the near sideline. He's got a blocker. One man to beat. Flags come flying in, and Hancock is into the end zone. Right now, touchdown, Ohio State.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
From the 19-yard line, right hash going left to right. Man in motion on the edge. Here's a pass, and it's intercepted. That's Kareni Reed, and he takes it to the house on the first play of the game. 21 yards, a pick six for Kareni Reed in Utah.
365 Sports is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Rattler on 3rd and 8. Herman brings pressure, hit as he throws. Jump ball! What a catch! Xavier Legette! He is him!
365 Sports is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Missouri still trying to get set from the end zone. Cook throws one. It's intercepted! House call for Major Burns! And LSU is going to escape Columbia with a win.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Henderson in motion, looking to throw. Complete. Touchdown, Jared Wiley, the tight end.
365 Sports is turbocharged by Unite Private Networks. Find out more at uniteprivatenetworks.com.
Milroy steps up in the pocket. He's going to take off with it, and he's getting the first down and a lot more. This is what he can do. Milroy might have scored.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Welcome in. Day 2 of my completely smokeless week. Usually it's just a day, but this week they're both gone together in Florida at a family event. So we are bringing in guest co-host Garrett Ross. Was with me yesterday, and he's with me every day. But today, Josh Neighbors, Big 12 watch over on our Crystal Ball College Football channel, joins me for the entire 3 hours. I told him, block out your whole day. We're going to be doing research, book read. I'm surprised that did you see The Sun today, Josh? Because I did command you to be locked in a room and be ready for this show.
I consumed several novels. I brushed up on the Hunter Biden gun trial. You know, I'm ready for all of it, Paul. I'm just ready for all of it today.
Yeah, good. I mean, because I was going to throw lots of other things out there, and hold on, I'm getting a message that we have a problem. Are we not live? We are. Okay. Okay. All right. There we go. Sorry about that. So, Josh, we've got topics to go through today. I sent you the list. But first of all, for people who are now just familiar with you watching on the 3 to 6 show, where can they find you when on Big 12 Watch, what that you do every day?
So Big 12 Watch, I'll be coming back to daily here pretty soon because I also have other jobs as well. But you can find me at Josh Neighbors _ on X/Twitter. At NWPod365 is the Twitter handle. Big 12 Watch is coming your way. Yeah, this summer really starting to ramp up with that. Also, you can find me on 103.7 The Buzz on Morning Mayhem 6 to 10 as well. And also Bleacher Report, as I'm starting to ramp back with them too, doing some videos and content for them, previewing this coming college football season. So it's all about to start really, especially for us, Paul, it just hit home because Arkansas got KO'd in their regional.
Yes.
So it's all systems go to the Bobby Petrino wagon. So it's about to be turning the page for most fan bases to football as the spring sports are winding down.
So Arkansas had a huge confidence going in, and Kansas State and Southeast Missouri knocked them out. But Kansas State's the one who moved on into the regional or into the supers. Was that? I mean, I don't want to say crisis point, but as confident as they've been throughout the season, to not make at least the supers has to be super disappointing there.
Well, I was thinking, because I think the odds before, so Arkansas to make it out of the regional was like minus 300 maybe. And they win the first game against SEMO 17-9, and the bats have been a big concern. They're up 2-0 in the top of the fifth of the road team. And they've got Hagen Smith on the mound, who's going to be a top 10 pick. It's just a matter of where in the top 10. I think he finishes with the highest K per 9 of any pitcher in NCAA history. He's got a 2-run lead, and the Cats put 6 runs on him in an inning. And I mean, it's like the worst inning he's had. And all of a sudden the game completely flipped. Actually, I forget the kid's name, but a former teammate of his, or a summer league teammate of his, 3-run home run, and K-State ran right through the regional. I mean, they beat SEMO in the final game. They played 3 games. They won the first one. It took them a little bit longer because it got rain delayed. They beat Arkansas in the second one. They beat SEMO in the third one. I mean, it was bing, bang, boom. They were done. They beat 3 separate teams in 3 days, and they were off to the races. So baseball's random like that. You get an average K-State team, pretty middling in the Big 12 all year. They come to Fayetteville. The pitching's not very good for Arkansas, and all of a sudden you look up and Kansas State's into the supers. So, but baseball's random like that. Like, I can give you reasons why other sports go the way they do. Baseball's just, it's completely random. It really is.
Oh, it very much is. I mean, Oklahoma super confident, and UConn knocked them out. You know, they were having a really good run. Look, Evansville is 150-1 to win the whole thing. They're
you get beat by 13 in the. I think on Sunday they got beat by 13, and then you get Florida. Florida's 1 game above 500.
Yeah,
and they end up winning the Stillwater Regional. I mean, you never know with baseball.
Florida, classically has some of the best teams. I mean, they're always throwing, like Wyatt Langford's from there. You go through the major leagues. There's tons of Gator players all over the place.
Pete Alonso.
Pete Alonso. This year was off the rails for them. I mean, panic time, and here they are. In the supers. All right, let's get to the rundown. Speaking of the state of Florida, they did something today that other states have done, but the Florida High School Athletic Association, the FHSAA, of which I played my high school athletics there, they have approved NIL deals for high school athletes. Now, a lot of states have done this in that there's really no way that they can, really stop it. What makes this interesting, though, Josh, is Florida has the most permissive high school transfer rules in the country. All the states around them have NIL, the Alabama and Georgia and all that for their high school players. I believe Louisiana has it now. Mississippi probably has it. So they all have that. And this is really only going to affect about 100 players in the state of Florida, genuinely. But with the fact that you can transfer and play right away in Florida, which you can't do in a lot of states, especially not Texas where we are, where I am, you're in Arkansas. But this is kind of a big deal and could kind of create more friction in a state whose high school athletics is as roughshod and kind of hectic and crazy, and they have really stupid ideas on how to do the playoffs already. And now here they are. They're going to have like widespread kids trying to transfer and get money when there's probably not a whole lot of money for them to get.
So, because I know in Missouri, like in Arkansas, that they have these rules where you have to sign with a Missouri school and then you can start receiving NIL, things of that nature. Are there specifics about, are they just paying kids in high school now? Like, does this exclude college? Does this have to do with signing a national letter of intent, or is this high school? We're paying kids to be, for their name, image, and likeness.
Yeah. I mean, they're paying high school kids for name, image, and likeness. So you can, if
IMG, already going to keep loading up.
Yeah. Which, IMG has 2 programs. There's the kids who pay full price for IMG, and then there's the kids who IMG wants. And they play on 2 different teams. And essentially, if you think your kid can make it to Alabama, but you're just a deluded rich parent, you are paying for a guy like Kellen Mond to go to IMG. So because that's kind of how it works. But yeah, IMG is going to go nuts. But look, I'll tell you, St. Thomas Aquinas over in Fort Lauderdale already is one of the best programs in the state. And because they're a Catholic school, they can recruit anyway.
Right.
This is going to, I think it's going to actually create a problem for them, because they'll have a flood of people going like, well, I can come here now. How much money are you going to give me, rich guys? And like, whoa. Like, we're a high school. Like, yes, we're a wealthy high school, but let's not get it twisted here. But there are going to be some things. And because of the very permissive transfer rules that Florida has now, I just think this is going to be chaos. And it's going to be things that coaches can't deal with in a lot of sports. In basketball, baseball is really big in Florida, and club, like, you're going to be able to essentially, like, you're going to not be able to, you're going to have coaches directing entire club teams to a high school, which already is kind of happening. But now, if I'm on a club team and, my shortstop lives over the line, but he couldn't play with us and he's the best player. Well, now, not only that, I can pay him to come there. This to me is absolute unleashed chaos. And I'm for anybody making money however they can. But you have to balance it out with some sort of structure on the rules. And I used to be a person, and Garrett can tell you this, I was the guy who was like, I don't think there should be any reason why anybody should tell me why I can't go to a school. And like, part of me still believes that, but part of me also knows that like sometimes you have to sacrifice things for the greater good, because otherwise it's absolute chaos when it comes to high school. Because especially now, there's a lot of parents who have no grip on the reality of the situation when it comes to sports. They just want to point their kid in whatever direction they think is going to be like the most attention and may not be the best for them. And then you have, I think that's bad. So I think sometimes you have to sacrifice things. Like, I don't think you should be able to tell me where to transfer. Well, yeah, but if you don't, the problem is it's not going to be people like me who would never really abuse that rule. I would think I'm going to think that out before I even get to a high school and live in a place where the high school is good, as opposed to the people who will abuse this ridiculously and ruin it for everybody else.
So there's two issues. Number one, there is the transfer thing is going to basically stand across the line, right? Because the issue with transfer thing is it's about contract, right? Mm-hmm. These are not employees. They are not under contract.
They're high school kids.
You cannot they're high school kids, right? Which is the other part of this, but you can't enforce non-competes on people who are not employees. That's why unlimited transfers is happening. It's why any challenge in court is probably not going to go very well. So there's that aspect of it. The NIL part, I think we forget like what NIL stands for, name, image, and likeness. So on its surface, I think about this all the time. Like, was anybody upset when Justin Bieber was making a ton of money off of t-shirts and things like that? They print his face on it when he was 13 or 14 or whatever. Yeah. Right. So like from that standpoint, I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's his name, it's his image, it's his likeness. Kind of the same thing stands for athletes. Like the idea of it is great. We all know that that's not really how it applies. I feel honestly, like I don't have a good answer about a lot of this stuff because I feel conflicted about it. Right. Because the way it works in college is like, we're not actually doing that. But at the same time, it's pretty capitalist to say, hey, aren't you worth what somebody will pay you? Right. If Booster X will pay you this much money, and look, yeah, you're doing advertisements for them, whatever, you're going to their restaurant or doing meet and greet, whatever, but really like it's their fandom plus their desired happiness that they're not looking for return on investment a lot of the time. Right. And I think a lot of people are like, oh, the return on investment is going to be low. Yeah, it is. But like these people don't care about that. This is about like their happiness and their fandom. So all of these things mix. I think where I draw the line though, Paul, is in high school where it's okay. Who am I to say when a kid can't start making a living or earning money off his name, image, and likeness? But also too, is there a way we could be like, all right, any money that you earn before the age of 18 must go into a fund that you can have access to once you are no longer a minor. And I don't know what the age, whatever, consider a minor in Florida, every state's different, but maybe that's the way you do it because, hey, at 18, that's when you can start making your own decisions. I think you make a good point here. And think about, especially football, like there's a lot of talent comes from, not great places. And those aren't always most stable homes where a bunch of people are directing them in the right direction. So allowing that money not to be touched until a kid is at 18, able to make their own decisions legally in some ways, I think might be the right way to do that if I were to have any kind of actual idea. But once again, it's a pretty complicated issue.
Yeah, I just think, and I also think that just knowing the FHSAA like I do, this is just asking for chaos. That, like, just to let you know, a couple years ago, Garrett, I think we were still working together when this happened. I mean, we were all, but like, you know, we were at the back of the radio station, but we talked about it. Florida, the FHSAA decided to determine their playoffs through
max preps,
through rankings on max preps. Yeah. Like, are you kidding? Like, are you kidding? And then schedules got
if
out
you
on
call a high
whack.
school football game, you know, max preps is like the least reliable thing.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. If you're like, okay, I need to know who, Midway's playing Georgetown. It's a non-district game. Yeah. I need to find out who Georgetown has played. Let me go. What's Georgetown's schedule? Well, max preps, because of the search, will always come up before their actual high school page. And look, most of the time, Josh, you know this, the high school page is there's two kinds of high school athletics pages. Unbelievable. Great. Like Amazon.com good. Or nothing. Like nothing, barely
November,
there.
The score has not been updated since September 1st.
Yeah, exactly. Or ever. Like, you know, they like, yes, well, here's a picture of the coach. You know, that's it. Like, you know, that's the picture you get of him doing something. And that's all you get. So you go to max pressure, like, all right, well, what was the score of that game last week? And then this nothing. And it's just, you know, or it's wrong. It's some kind of weird number like 83-9. You're like, well, I know it wasn't that. You know, like it might have been a blowout, but it certainly wasn't 83-9. I don't know who called that in. So, yeah, not the most reliable thing in the world. All right, moving on. This was brought up in the chat just recently. The state of North Carolina, Josh, and the state of Texas would love to do. This is from Ross Dellinger, whose streak ended today, by the way, of leading off the show. Or was it yesterday?
I believe it was yesterday.
Yesterday, his streak ended of leading off the show with news that he's
on a streak on my podcast. I think he's at like 4 or 5.
Yeah, it just, I mean, lead off with a Ross Dellinger report. He's killing. He was on our show on Friday. And so even though his news wasn't like the biggest news of the day because he was on the show to keep the streak, you know, I put him at the top, but it was about second or third. Like today, it's second. North Carolina lawmakers want to require the state's two biggest and richest programs, UNC and Chapel Hill, and NC State, to regularly play football and basketball games against other in-state public schools. Under a bill filed by prominent Republican House members, they would be required to play at least one of East Carolina, App State, and Charlotte every year, and would have to play each school home and away every 6 years. And UNC and NC State would also be required to play each other home and away every year, a nod to looming realignment. And, you know, the sports tourism is vital to the economy of North Carolina. Interstate college athletics generates millions of dollars in economic impact to the state. It's the priority of the General Assembly to encourage interstate college athletic rivalries in order to promote economic development. I want to know if this would pass or anything, but I think they'd probably play a lot of those schools anyway, most of the time, but not all the time. But it is interesting to see a state fighting back against realignment, and UNC's not even fully into the realignment waters yet. They're just kind of on the fringe, seeing how things are going with FSU and Clemson. But, you know, if they start, you know, playing in the Big Ten or the SEC and leaving the ACC, you know, there is a pretty good chance that they would never play App State, save for one football game every 20 years.
Yeah, no, make them do it. Sign this thing, get this thing into law. The one thing we're losing right now is regionality. Okay. And my big stance on realignment and the way things are trending right now is be careful, because you are not pro football. Pro football is the highest level of this sport. If you make this thing too pro football, you are going to scare away a large portion of people. Why should App State fans care what happens in North Carolina if they're never allowed to play them, or, you know, North Carolina is basically in a different league, full stop. Like, I think that we should encourage local competition this year. Arkansas is playing Arkansas Pine Bluff in Little Rock to start off the year. They're playing Arkansas State next year. I am behind that. I'm behind Missouri playing Missouri State. It's where I went to school. You know, Paul, I think Paul, for your case, Florida State should play FAMU, right? You know, I think Southeast Louisiana, like, you know, the HBCUs, like, get them involved in big state schools. Make sure if the schools are going to be cutting checks and buy games, make sure it's a school that needs it in your state. You Tennessee State, we talked about their facilities were a huge point of contention. I think it was talked about like their situation. Vanderbilt and Tennessee, if they're playing anybody, in Memphis too, even to some extent, they should be playing schools like that. So I'm behind Carolina in all this. The state protect. I know some folks they should not be telling the colleges what to do, but look, those are actually people in some ways trying to protect regionality, and also it's going to get them some brownie points with prospective voters probably because they're protecting in-state rivalries. But I've got no problem with that, and I support that fully.
No, I would like to. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing it in Texas and Florida either.
Well, they should in Texas.
They should. Like in Texas, like Florida doesn't really need it as much because those schools, kind of play each other. I mean, Florida and Florida State are going to play every year. Florida State and Miami are going to play every year. Florida and Miami will rotate around. UCF is and USF are in the mix. Everybody else is like. I think also they understand the value of not having to get on planes or be on planes for a long time. So if you're in Gainesville and and you've got to go down to Miami, or you have that one random 3-1 where you do have to go to FIU or FAU for something, which probably wouldn't happen. You'd probably play them on a neutral site or something like that, if anything. But value the easiness of not ever having to leave the state for any reason. Florida, all the schools I think would like to play USF if USF really sucked, and they only sucked for little stretches at a time.
Schools will fight it because Carolina, NC State do not want to have to play App.
No, they don't.
That is not a game you want to play. It's not a team. I mean, we saw them go to A&M. I know A&M was bad, but they went to A&M and beat them. We all know the Michigan game too. But App's been a solid program basically, regardless of who's coached it for better part of a decade now, decade and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to play App, which I understand.
Yeah,
but I think it'd be good if they did.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I get it, not wanting to play them. I mean, they have enough wins over their time of playing schools like that where it's going to make it nerve-wracking. And the Power 5 or the Power 4 and the Group of 5, the Power 4 is not going to help them more. Every chance they're going to get to screw them, they're going to. Just look at the settlement that was about their athletes, and they're like, yeah, but you're still going to pay for 40% of it, even though 90% of the bill is going to people who played at our school. So it's they're going to find every way they can to screw them. So I support it, especially Texas. If you don't again, Baylor and TCU would not be in this because they're not public schools, but A&M would never if you told them that you passed a law where they never had to play Tech again, they would vote for it 100%.
Oh, yeah, they don't want
because
to play Tech.
They hated playing them. They hated
Tech
playing them.
Got them too.
Tech would always kind of get Tech.
You think they want to play UTSA?
Yeah, no, absolutely not. But A&M and Tech, it was a huge rivalry for Tech. It was not for A&M.
Mm-hmm.
A&M, when they were in the Big 12, in the SWC, really only had one rival. It was Texas. Everybody else was kind of a rival, and they would kind of do things. But bottom line is, Gig'em that they say was about TCU. Yeah. But the bottom line is, it was all about Texas. It was all about Texas, and so. They would roll into Lubbock quite often and go oh, well, we're, this is a bad Tech team or we're better than them. And then Tech would get them and then their season would be kind of derailed. I know Tech probably cost them a BCS game or two back in the day because Mike Leach loved to beat A&M more than even more than beating Texas. He loved to beat A&M. He loved it. And so if you told A&M that they had to play Tech once a decade, a home and home, they'd be crap. And look, Texas doesn't want to, Texas might play them again, but Texas doesn't want to play TCU and they don't want to play Baylor, which wouldn't affect it. But they don't want to play Houston. They don't want to play, they don't want to have to be forced to play UNT and UTSA, especially as things maybe shift and those teams get good enough to where they can get you once in a while, which hasn't happened to them yet, but you never know. But, yeah, they don't want to have to do that. That's why they want to be.
Yeah, I would caution betting against Willie Fritz. He's basically won everywhere he's been.
Yeah.
I think Houston under him will be just fine. And, Jeff Traylor's still at UTSA. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And UTSA, here's the thing. If Jeff Traylor ever leaves and goes and takes a big job like Arkansas or – or somewhere else that's open and starts winning there, UTSA is pretty committed to that football program. So whoever they get is going to be the
Texas
next
schools. They're always going to have talent, right? We just saw Seth Luttrell do well at North Texas, and
we
we know what, Houston and UTSA are capable of too. So it's like
GJ Kenny's on the rise, people like him, it's, you wouldn't want to do that, So I like if Texas made that rule, I promise you. And growing up in Aggie household, I knew very well, my dad didn't have any disdain towards Tech. He didn't think it, but it was one of those things that was like, damn it. Again? Really again? That was, and it was always A&M is rocking along, and then they go out to West Texas and then forget everything they ever knew. It's just we saw a tumbleweed. Oh crap. That's it.
I'm struggling to remember A&M rolling along. When did that happen?
R.C. Slocum. Probably R.C. Slocum days. Yeah.
Good Lord. Yeah.
Johnny.
Didn't watch too many of those games.
Johnny football. Yeah, you weren't really that much alive then. You were alive, just not.
Yeah, but when Johnny football was at A&M, it wasn't like it was a continuation of what they've been doing. It was just here it comes, it's up, then all of a sudden it was down.
Oh yeah. I mean, that was he is the definition of college football, one hit or short time. He's the Dexy's Midnight Runners of college football. They sing "Come On Eileen," by the way.
Yeah, I did know that one.
Okay, good deal. I'm glad you did. All right, a couple more things to get to before we get to Will Backus. ACC has announced a partnership with Integrity 360, who are 360 Integrity, that does the gambling and all numbers. Josh, you're a big gambling guy. I know you're a big gambling guy. We've seen more. We've got an MLB scandal that just minor scandal, some suspensions and expulsions that we'll talk about later in the show. But you're going to see more and more of this. They've partnered with other conferences as well because you can't really slow that. You can't stop it, especially if it's legal everywhere. But you need partners to help catch it at every turn. Otherwise, it's going to be a nightmare for it. And I would just caution any college athlete that's thinking about doing this that they
will catch you. Do not do it.
They're going to catch you. You bet $96 on DraftKings. It's not worth it. You'll have a point in your life where you can bet all you want, but while you're an athlete, just not worth it.
Nope, it's not. And look, these casinos, these gaming commissions, they are very, very good at finding you. It's not hard for them. They've got these computers that generate a lot of the lines and a lot of the action. They recognize trends in games. They recognize trends in bets. They know who is betting. They can find your connection. And once again, anytime you sign up for an app, you have to use your social security number. So they know you can't sign up as, I can't sign up on an app as Paul Catalina. I can't do that. So if you have somebody else, near you setting, placing bets for you and stuff, they are going to be able to track that and find that. And there's a paper trail as well in terms of where the money goes and stuff. So they will catch you, and they will, depending on who you are. But a lot of these people, they will drop the hammer on. Jonte Porter, my God, the NBA got so lucky because they could just drop the hammer on him. And then I did not know who this gentleman was for and I follow baseball.
No,
did not recognize this gentleman for the Pirates.
No, I follow baseball very closely, and it was all right, well, I guess bummer for the Padres that a utility infielder can't play or whatever he is.
I don't even think he played in the big leagues this year, did he?
Yeah, I mean, he was and he was on the IL with the Pirates last year and made those bets.
Yeah.
With the I'm not in. They're definitely going to lose this game. Come on, man. So, yeah, I don't know. That was strange. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we got Will Backus of CBS Sports. Right after that, I know it looked like when I said it to you that we were going to have Dennis Dodd. We don't have Dennis Dodd. He wrote an article. I'm working on Dennis for later in the week, but we don't have Dennis Dodd. But we'll talk about his article about the back off of the AQ push right now. It's all quiet on that front. We'll talk about that after Will Backus, who's coming up next from CBS Sports. This is 365 Sports.
It's the season to rev up your drive with Alan Samuels with the new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Your ultimate destination for unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Looking for a reliable ride to conquer these beautiful spring days? Look no further. The powerful trucks and sleek sedans are the perfect SUV. We've got the perfect vehicle to match your style and budget. Over 300 new vehicles to choose from. Now's the time to make your move. Enjoy special discounts, low financing rates, and incredible incentives. But hurry, these offers won't last forever. Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor alumni are more than 160,000 strong. When we all join hands to support our university, we don't just move the needle, we move mountains. Working together, we create life-changing opportunities for students on the field, in the classroom, in the laboratory, and in life for generations to come. So get connected, get involved. Learn how at baylor.edu/alumni.
Let the journey to financial brilliance begin with Genco's limited time offers. Max your earnings with a Casasa cash account and get paid monthly with a 4.25 APY. That's $425 annually. Then invest in a 13-month share certificate and earn 4.9 APY. That's $529. Earn cash and outshine the rest. At Genco, we offer you the sun and the moon. Casasa based on average daily balance of $10,000. Certificate based on $10,000 investment. See GencoFCU.org for details. NCUA.
This is 365 Sports.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina, Josh Neighbor sitting in for the Smokes today. And Will Backus of CBS Sports. Will, you have put out so much content in the last few days. Today, when we were going through, like, who do we need to get on the show, Garrett and I simultaneously, like, text each other, Will Backus, because you have put out so much stuff so we can have a wide-ranging interview. You've covered a lot. Thank you for doing that. In the off-season, for podcasts like us, it is slow. We need information, and I salute you for it.
There is no off season in college football, so I keep busy.
Absolutely. So, Will, let's talk about transfers that you wrote a column on the SEC. I know that some other people are assigned to different conferences, but at the SEC, with Texas coming in this year and Oklahoma, probably the most intriguing of the new conference builds, in that how this is all going to work. Isaiah Bond going from Bama to Texas, to me, is the one guy who can maybe swing and keep Texas back to where they were a year ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think that was a pretty huge get. You know, as I pointed out in the article, Texas has to replace all 5 of its top receivers from a year ago. And that's just a lot to have to do at one time, especially when you're coming into the SEC, you know, a jumped up level in competition. And now you've set the standard where you can reach the college football playoff. So getting a guy like Isaiah Bond, who I think is still really scratching the surface of what he can really be, was a big get for them. He closed the year on a really high note with that huge catch against Auburn. He was impressive in the SEC championship game. He was a solid target. And so I think he has a chance to definitely emerge as kind of an alpha receiver for Quinn Ewers and be a reliable guy in that offense.
This was a little bit off menu here, Will, but Diego Pavia to Vanderbilt to me was really interesting because when I watched him play, this is a guy that, like with the right guidance, could be a really tremendous player. But he chooses to go to the hardest conference in the country and play for the worst team in that conference. I feel like this elevates. I mean, I can't think about the last Vanderbilt quarterback where I felt good about them, but I feel like this does elevate their offense in some kind of a way. And I think for Clark Lee, it's about time we see some proof. I know it's easier said than done at Vanderbilt, but did that one seem odd to you? And do you think it's an automatic upgrade for that offense? Because they've had some tough times finding a solid QB in recent years.
Did we lose Will?
Yeah.
Okay,
so Diego Pavia, you know, the Vanderbilt, I think that is an interesting fit, specifically because, like you mentioned, he had a good situation at New Mexico State, was a fantastic player there, and then to go to a Vanderbilt team that has struggled recently in the SEC, it's going to be a battle to even get close to bowl eligibility. But I do think that one thing that factored in that decision is that Vanderbilt hired his offensive coordinator at New Mexico State, Tim Beck. So he probably followed him and thought, hey, you know, if I was a Conference USA Player of the Year under him at New Mexico State, then maybe I can make some noise in the SEC and perform at a higher level. And I definitely think he does raise Vanderbilt's ceiling offensively. You know, you get a playmaker like him. He's a guy that can do stuff outside the pocket, pretty solid decision maker. You know, it does elevate their ceiling offensively. I'm not sure if it's going to propel them to that bowl level, but I think that they're going to be a little bit more exciting offensively than they have been recently. And they do have some questions at the skill talent position. So, but he's the type of quarterback that can raise the play of people around him, especially with that playmaking ability I mentioned. So, again, they should be at least a little bit easier to watch offensively, if nothing else.
I would say the team that is going for it, you know, that's trying to shoot the moon here in this first year of the 12-team playoff is Ole Miss. Walter Nolan, not only actually the biggest guy that they got because he's a very large human being, but the biggest name. But they went deep in the transfer portal all over the place. Lane Kiffin's called himself the portal king. There's probably a couple other coaches that could lay claim to that title, but for sure he is certainly going for it this year. Do you think that this is a team that can compete for and win the SEC title and potentially win the national title through a college football playoff?
I think it's a team that can definitely compete in the SEC. I mean, you've got questions about, you know, Lane Kiffin has been close in the past. I mean, last year's team was pretty solid, right? Pretty close. But then they came up short in those really big games that they need to win. And so, yeah, he went all in the portal this year to try to get to that level where he can beat the Georgias and the Alabamas of this world. And they don't have to play Alabama this year. So that's a huge benefit for them, not having to play Alabama anymore. They step outside of that divisional shadow. So I definitely think that they can compete in the SEC. They're definitely one of those teams that's in that higher tier, maybe a little step below Georgia and Texas, but they're right there outside where it definitely wouldn't surprise me to see them make some noise and have a breakout year. And as it pertains to the college football playoff, they don't even need to make the SEC championship game to make the playoff. If they go 10-2 in the SEC, I mean, they've got the perception of being a really strong team. They're playing in a really strong conference. 10-2 is more than enough to get them into a 12-team playoff and get one of those at-large bids. So I think it shapes up really nicely for them to, at the very least, make the playoffs. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're, looking in November and they're right there in the thick of the SEC race. And certainly anytime you get in the playoff, there's national title upside. I think a lot of it would just be, what seed do they get? Do they have to go on the road? What does that look like? But, on paper, it's a really talented team. It's just going to come down to, can all these transfers gel? They got 24, 26 transfers. So that's pretty much an entirely new starting team. So can those guys gel? And then can Ole Miss finally break through in those big pressure games that they need to win to get to an SEC championship level?
So I'm going to hit back on the quarterbacks, Will, with of transfers. You've got Brock Vandergriff at Kentucky. You've got Taylon Green at Arkansas. You've got Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt, as we mentioned before. Blake Shapen at Mississippi State, and I think that's the extent of the transfer ring. Which quarterback do you think has the chance to or will have the biggest impact in their program? And I mean, you can take impact like you want. Taylon Green saved Sam Pittman's job. Does Vandergriff elevate the Kentucky offense that has been at times, sluggish? You can go back to Pavia if you want. Mississippi State, they find consistency. Is Jeff Levy a good fit with Blake Shapen? Who will elevate, in your opinion, their team and kind of the most?
Yeah, so I look at a guy like Taylon Green. I think he fits that KJ Jefferson mold really well. I mean, he looks similar. He's got a very similar big frame. He's taller. He's 6'6". And I think he looked really comfortable commanding Bobby Petrino's offense in the spring game. I was impressed. He had 3 passing touchdowns, delivered to every level of the field really well, and he can make plays with his legs. And we've seen Arkansas rely on that really heavily in recent years. So I think he's a really good fit for them offensively. I don't know how Arkansas is going to be as a team in 2024, but I wouldn't be surprised if Taylon Green kind of comes out and surprises some folks. I think another guy you look at is Brock Vandegrift. And a reason I point him out is I really like the situation that he's in. It's not, he's a very unproven guy. He has 21 pass attempts in 3 years at college. So it's kind of hard to project how he's actually going to perform. But he's a great fit for what they like to do offensively. And he's got some immense skill talent around him. Dane Key, I think, is one of the most underrated receivers in the SEC. Farion Brown is an absolute speedster that can just burn defenses and race past almost anybody that he lines up against. And, I think Kentucky's offensive line, it's been kind of down the past couple of years, but as long as they can get that sorted out, I think Vandegrift, despite his lack of experience, is in a very solid position to succeed and definitely, emerge as a guy that is in the upper half of SEC quarterbacks.
I want to talk about the College Football Hall of Fame article you wrote in just a second, but to wrap up on the transfers, who is the one that people may be sleeping on a little bit or that flew under the radar that could really shake things up?
Yeah, I just talked about Taylon Green at Arkansas, but another guy at Arkansas was Jaquindon Jackson, who comes over from Utah. And, I think you look at last year, Arkansas's rushing attack was abysmal. Their leading rusher was KJ Jefferson, and he had 447 yards. They didn't have a running back come close to 400 yards. And so that was a huge kind of impingement to their season. I think it was a big reason why they struggled so much and had such a setback of a season. They go and get a guy in Jaquindon Jackson who used to play quarterback, but found his way onto the field as a running back at Utah after transferring from Texas. And I think he really flourished in that role. He battled through some injuries. I think there's maybe some concern about him being in a bell cow back type role, but I think his body type and his running style fit that physical kind of smash mouth run style that Arkansas likes to do. And he reminds me of a lot of guys that Arkansas used to have when it was just consistently pumping out those elite running backs. And he kind of fits the mold of those guys. He's kind of that prototype. So I think that he could be a guy where we look back at year's end and look at him as kind of a still I know 24/7 Sports rated him as a 4-star transfer, and I think that's a perfect rating for him. But he's just not a guy that I've seen a lot of people talk about on a national scale. I've not heard a lot of talk about him. But I wouldn't be surprised if we're looking back at year's end and seeing that he has, 1,000 yards, and we're talking about him as one of the SEC's best running backs.
Loved the column, and maybe I'm a little biased as an FSU grad that you included Peter Warrick in this, but he is. I think it's kind of interesting how these Hall of Fames go and people vote for them because, of the guys you have on the list here, a couple of them were excellent pros. Antoine Randall L was a really reliable wide receiver for the Steelers, helped them win a Super Bowl.
And don't forget for Washington as well.
Yeah. And Eric Weddle and Haloti Ngata were excellent players. Eric Weddle's probably going to wind up in the Hall of Fame. Like Haloti Ngata, really great players. But guys like Peter Warrick and Monty Ball, Kajana Carter, Simeon Rice was a great player in the NFL too. But like you listed some of these guys, and do you think they get lost in the shuffle because, Peter Warrick and Monty Ball were not great, and Kellen Moore is known as a coach. He didn't really play that long, but he's still the all-time winningest quarterback in the history of college football, that people forget maybe voting that this is the College Football Hall of Fame and what they did in the pros has no bearing on it?
I think that's certainly something that could factor into it. I think there's something like 12,000 voters. So each of them has a different approach. But, yeah, I think when you look at it, a lot of the big names that I saw people talking about on this year's ballot are guys like Michael Vick and Aaron Donald. And those were guys that were obviously phenomenal in college. But there were also guys that had amazing NFL careers. Aaron Donald's going to be an NFL Hall of Famer. Michael Vick was just so much fun to watch and fun to play with in Madden. And so I think, I think people try not to let professional careers influence Hall of Fame decisions, but it's also kind of hard to, because when these guys go on to have professional careers, their names are at the forefront of people's minds. Whereas someone like Monty Ball, who, had 39 touchdowns in a single season in college football, which is absurd, he doesn't go on to have a huge NFL career. People just kind of forget about him, and he kind of fades from the consciousness a little bit until you look at a ballot and you're like, oh, there's Monty Ball. I remember him. But then your attention turns immediately to a Michael Vick or an Aaron Donald or a Haloti Ngata, guys that were professional stars and that are just more fresh on everybody's mind. And so, I think that's just kind of hard to get out of people's heads sometimes.
Yeah, well, it was a great column, and certainly, like Kajana Carter, I know that people may not remember how good he was, and he was the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft, the last running back to do that. Now, the list of college football Hall of Fame ballots has a bunch of guys from the Bengals who didn't really do well in the pros, and I blame mostly the Bengals for that. But Kajana Carter was dominant at Penn State. Absolutely dominant. People just kind of forget because, again, your name gets synonymous with NFL bust, I think, sometimes, or you just fade into the background. But, yeah, there's a lot of these guys that, this is talking about a guy from 1993 and 4 that should absolutely be in the College Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, he's a great example, and obviously his NFL career got off on the wrong foot. Entirely not his fault. It was just he had 4 pretty major injuries within the first few years of him being in the NFL, and he still managed to make it a decade. So I think that's a testament to really how talented he was. But yeah, like you said, arguably the peak of his career was in 1995, and admittedly, or 94, that 94-95 kind of window when he won the Heisman. And admittedly, that's before I was born. I know who Kajana Carter is. I've seen his highlights. I've read about his achievements and his accomplishments. I can recognize that he was a dominant player, but, I'm sure there's quite a few voters out there that were probably really young when he was in his prime, maybe weren't paying attention to college football when he was in his prime, or weren't born yet, when he was dominating people. And so, I think he's also an interesting case because, it's 30 years ago. Same thing with Simeon Rice. His Big Ten sack record has stood for 30 years, but it happened 30 years ago. And so it's one thing to, be able to look back and see like, wow, this guy did really well, but you're not in it, and you're not experiencing it firsthand. And so I think with guys that have been waiting for a long time, like those two, that certainly could play a part in it.
Yeah, I also would like Sebastian Janikowski to get in, but it's harder for kickers. But no, there's a lot of, like, the list. We went through it on an earlier podcast. It is like there's 77 players on the thing, and 12 are getting in. So part of me wishes they would just put out a bit of a smaller ballot, so you don't kind of maybe get your hopes up. I don't know. It's tricky when you have 77. Will, thank you so much for hopping on today. We'll certainly get you on again. You've got great stuff. Keep up the good work there at CBS.
Yeah, I appreciate y'all.
Will Backus from CBS Sports joins us now. And, yeah, Josh, if you go through that list of the College Football Hall of Fame, it is like – I mean, we went through it on Triple Option, Garrett, and it took a whole segment. And I was skipping over people that I knew that the three of us couldn't really speak on outside of, okay, like Willie Gault is on the list. Yeah. But I remember Willie Gault more for the Bears than I do it at Tennessee because he's on the 85 Bears. But we're not talking about Willie Gault, 85 Bears. We're talking about Willie Gault, 1983 Tennessee speedster. I was 3 years old. Garrett, I think, was just
I wasn't even born. I'm born in 85. So
85. Yeah, you are a child of the 90s, I believe. So
97.
So, yeah, I was my junior year in high school, 1997. So.
They're trying to do it regionally with the voting. I know that they, and that's good because obviously you want some folks to be able to be there and promote, some players that people might have missed at certain times. So, yeah, I think it's why you have a bunch of voters, but 77 is far too many. I'm with you on that, Paul.
Well, to just go through it, give me 37 and I pick 12, or 36 and I pick 12. And then you've got a 33% chance, and then you kind of clear out the list that way. But everybody in the list has an argument for it. I mean, and there's a lot of people in college football. There's hundreds of teams, right?
A lot of teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of teams. So everybody's got somebody that should be in based on what they did. Ryan Yarbrough from Wyoming is one of the guys on the list. I remember him, and I remember how, and again, he was not playing at a time where everybody's on TV, but it was one of those things where you'd follow along to be like, oh man, he's got another catch, another touchdown, all that stuff. I remember him because of that. But I needed the College Football Hall of Fame to remind me, oh yeah, I remember saying that guy got another touchdown. Okay, that's a big year for the Cowboys there. All right, I didn't know Wyoming had college. I thought it was just all ranches and Yellowstone National Park. But anyway, when we come back, the Big Ten and the SEC are not currently pushing as hard for those automatic qualifiers as they were before, holding off until maybe 2026. Dennis Dodd wrote a column about it. We'll talk about that next. This is 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, a wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trust. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Waco Custom Marketplace is your hometown grocery store with a full-service butcher shop and bakery. Hi, this is David Smoak. The butcher shop can take your customized orders for seafood, pork, and poultry and custom cut your favorite steaks from bacon-wrapped fillets, sirloin steaks, bone-in ribeyes, boneless ribeyes, and even prime rib. Cut specifically the way you want, the thickness that you want. They're all delicious. They have Norwegian salmon, mahi-mahi, catfish fillets, sliced ham or turkey, variety of cheese, and several options of sausage links links, and even regular jalapeno or cheese snack sticks. Fresh chicken breast or whole chickens, sliced bacon, pork chops, and ground beef, marinated beef or chicken fajitas, and always large briskets and tri-tip available, plus fresh vegetables. So the great product, customer service, and tradition continues at Waco Custom Marketplace, a full-service butcher shop and bakery, open Monday through Saturday. The Bauer family, Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Carry On Solutions is a full-service IT management service provider and provides professional services for businesses servicing clients in the U.S. and globally. They are authorized partners with Microsoft, Quest, Veeam, NetApp, HP Enterprise, and Cisco Duo. Whether you are outsourcing IT services, merging companies, or wanting to tackle cybersecurity challenges, contact Carry On Solutions. We are IT. Call or email Dave at 832-437-0138 or sales at Carry On Solutions. That's CARRION Solutions.com.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com. Enjoying the show? Hit the like button and subscribe.
Welcome back, Paul Catalina, Josh Neighbors from Arkansas, the Magnolias
capital.
Yeah, but what's Arkansas is the what state?
Enchantment, isn't it?
The
State of
state.
enchantment.
That's in New Mexico.
That's in Mexico.
Oh,
Land of
the
enchantment.
There we
state.
go.
The what?
State.
The natural state.
Yeah.
The natural state. All right. Yeah, sure. I'll buy it. It's very pretty up there. So,
It is.
yeah, very pretty. Very pretty. All right. So, Josh, you and I talked about this on the podcast months ago about the automatic qualifiers that the Big Ten and SEC were pushing. They wanted 3 each out of the conference, and would have probably led to a 10 team out of 12. Big Ten, SEC, or at least 9 out of 12 Big Ten and SEC playoff, which is not a playoff; it's an invitational at that point. Like you're not truly doing it, because if you're going to get 3 guaranteed now. This is where this kind of irritates me. There's going to be a lot of years where they get that anyway. Like without campaigning, lobbying, nothing. They're just going to get it anyway. Their seasons are going to go well enough. They're going to have teams that beat enough good teams to where their 9-3 is going to look better than the other 9-3s, and they're going to get it anyway. So trying to lock it in permanently, just like with the SEC this year, making sure that they had to have a team in there. Like, okay, 1 year out of this whole thing, you didn't get a team in, and you're going to, it's hands across America for you. Like, come on now. Let's be realistic here. And so they backed off of it because it got such absolute, pushback from everybody else. Here's a quote, though, that kind of infuriates me. This is from Greg Sankey.
Oh, let's see if we pick the same quote, because I've got one too.
I'm just a humble one of 11.
That one. Go ahead and read it again. Sorry, I interrupted you. He said,
hold on. Let me get in character. I'm just a humble one of 11. I thought it would be wise to get through this year. I don't think we should be looking at format before we have a 12-team experience. Just old, little, upstart SEC commissioner Greg Sankey. Grassroots, salt of the earth, Greg Sankey.
He had a comment during SEC spring meetings last week where he was asked about like NIL and making the players employees. And he's like, I haven't heard from one player who wants to be taxed like an employee. It's like, dude, do you not understand how independent contractors work? Like there's not just one, it's not just like one option to get like taxed like an employee, it's not one linear thing. And he's like, well, if they don't want to be taxed like an employee, we can't hire them for anything. It's like, no, there's not. It's not just one thing. It's there's multiple ways to do this. So he was on a roll last week, but I'm just a humble member of the 11. It's like, please save it. My God.
I mean, I'm just a humble one.
And here's the thing. I like Greg Sankey. He's really good at this job. But once again, he's selling water to a person dying of thirst. So
it's crazy. But there are, and Dennis Dodd points out a lot of these issues in the column. Look, first of all, like I said before, the Big Ten and the ACC or SEC, sorry, not the ACC, are going to make out no matter what. Like, so if they get 5 of the 12, that's a down year. But most years they're going to get 6, 7, 8 of the 12, no matter what.
Yeah, Paul. Okay, so like the one playoff thing I'm having a tough time squaring right now, and I guess this is the way it's becoming more NFL. I think about teams like Penn State last year, and I think about teams, Penn State and Oregon are the two they just come to mind, right? Penn State's 2 biggest games were Michigan and Ohio State. They lost both of those games, right? Oregon's 2 biggest games last year were Washington twice. They lost both of those games, one neutral site and one at home. One on the road, one I believe on the road at Washington, right? So like, does a team that lost to a team twice deserve to play for a championship? Does a team that lost its 2 biggest game in the schedule by a country mile? I mean, who else was good last year that Penn State played? West Virginia ended up being pretty good.
Yeah.
Right? So those teams will always, I feel like, still get the nod. But like, Ole Miss, another good example last year. Who did they beat that was good? Like, their LSU win was great, but they couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop them. They let 60 points, or how many points it was in that game. So when you run into those teams, this is where like the expansion part's great, but it's like this is where I kind of think, all right, give some teams another shot. And thank God TCU actually won.
Yeah.
Because that actually does give a little bit of credence to the idea of like, okay, somebody else can come in here and occasionally can be competitive. Right. And also, I think we don't mention enough, Cincinnati was more competitive with Alabama than a lot of teams were with Alabama in a playoff. So, but that's where I kind of feel like, okay, do they have a point? Maybe, but like they're bottom of the barrel teams in terms of playoff, like will be teams like Oregon, will be teams like Penn State, will be teams like Ole Miss, and even my Missouri Tigers, where it's like, yeah, you didn't beat LSU at home last year. Like, you should have beat LSU at home. If you beat LSU at home, you had an argument, but you didn't. So you probably don't deserve to play for a championship.
Yeah, and there's a lot of factors that have come into this. The House versus NCAA settlement, which has got to get worked out. Which obviously, that to me will go hand in hand with collective bargaining and preventing bowl opt-outs. Like, I know that they're confident that kids are going to want to play in the 12-team playoff. The problem is, though, like, if I'm the best player at the 4th best team in the SEC, and I know that we've got to play Georgia again, and I don't think we're going to win, like, do I opt out then because I'm not getting any guarantees in this? I don't think
they're going to have to get rid of the conference championship games. I know they're money makers, but I think that's part of this too, is like, if they got the assurances for a number of AQs, you eliminate conference title games. Let's just say Alabama and Auburn have 2 great seasons, and Alabama loses to Auburn in the championship or in that Iron Bowl. Auburn has to go on and play an extra game, but we know both teams are going to be in. Like, you might have an Alabama team that's like, what, an extra week of being off, and host a playoff game. Like, have fun in Atlanta.
Yeah.
have fun with Georgia. Have fun with Texas. You might run into that. So I think that might be a positive out of AQs, but I don't want to go there with guaranteeing anybody. I don't want to
go there because it's going to
want to go all the way there.
It's going to wreck things. It's just going to wreck things, and it's going to create the same situation we had with the 4, where we promised the Big Ten they would get 3. You're like, well, how many years? Honestly, if you went back, the SEC would have this on lock, and I know that the Big Ten is larger now. Obviously, with 18 teams, they would. But like, if you just went through the Big Ten at 16 teams, where they were before Oregon, or 14 teams before they were, they get these Pac-12 teams in. How many years would 3 of them made a 12-team playoff?
Yeah.
I mean, not
Ohio
a
State,
lot.
Michigan, and who else?
And did
the Iowa team missed out in the playoff, right? Because they lost to Michigan State.
Yeah.
And that Michigan State team got nuked by Alabama.
Yeah.
Got absolutely nuked by Alabama.
Yeah.
I mean, the Michigan State team from Mel Tucker, maybe, but like, I forgot who the quarterback was on that team. It wasn't that good of a team.
Yeah.
It's Kenneth Walker.
Yeah. So like, again, you just mentioned Penn State. Did they deserve, like, they were not a playoff team, that like, and they didn't play a playoff schedule outside of Ohio State and Michigan. And
Michigan didn't throw the ball on them the entire second half. It's like, that team should be in.
Yeah.
No.
JJ McCarthy's shoulder was slightly hurt, and they're like, let's not mess with this.
They didn't even need to. It didn't even matter if he was hurt.
Yeah, I know. Like, slightly hurt. Like, yeah, we're gonna run the ball, and they can't score. And so those are things I think that we need to consider, like, in all this. But also, he brings up litigation. Look, the Florida Attorney General is suing the CFP right now anyway to figure out their process. I'll be a character witness in that one. They really.
Oh, I know you will.
Absolutely. I'll be in that trial and be like, look, there's something going on here. There's something going on. I'm the least. Garrett can tell you this. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all.
No, you're not.
I'm not.
They don't strike me as somebody who is.
No, I'm not. I don't like conspiracies are too hard to prove. There's too many people have to be involved. This is one of those things where I buy because not that many people have to be involved to screw over a school. Like, it's just.
I don't think it was a conspiracy. I think just the reasoning was bad.
Yeah. So.
We have a super chat here from Justin R. Do you think we'll see less blowouts in the playoff games now that there's no longer 3-week break?
Yes.
For the playoffs to end the regular season going into the playoff. What do y'all think?
100% yes.
Yeah.
That's the one thing we always forget about this too, is like the amount of time that really good schools have to prepare. Anything about schools in the regular season, not all of them get caught, but like Michigan was just sucking it up against Maryland for like three quarters last year. And like you start shortening the gap. I mean, if you give a team with 1 million coaches and 1 million really good coaches and a bunch of really good players a full month to prepare, we just haven't had too many TCUs against Michigan. They just haven't happened. There's a reason for that. If you may condense them, and also if you move them onto campuses, it's part of that too. It's going to change outcomes in terms of just like the environments are going to feel different. Stop putting them in these stupid empty NFL stadiums.
Yes.
Please, these teams are not going to be playing in Los Angeles or Las Vegas. These places have honestly, I like Arizona's a bit of a stretch. At least that place has got some college football history.
Yeah.
I hate it when they play these games in these places.
They should, my opinion is the bowl games should be kind of I think if you're going to really do this, you've got to get rid of the bowl games altogether. And because
we're just calling the bowl game on somebody's campus.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like we can't, it's like it's a Citrus Bowl. I get it needs to be somewhere, but like we can't have a Citrus Bowl in Alabama.
Yeah. So
instead of the sponsorship on there.
Yeah, like that exactly. Like just they've got to get rid of the neutral site bowl games. And look, I know that there's a whole industry built on that, and the bowl games to me should be the filler. If you want to still have them, that's fine. If you want to be bowl eligible and you can see your team, it's going to help everybody get better. That's fine. They can be filler, but the playoff needs to be the playoff and needs to be on campuses until the last game when you can play in Las Vegas or Los Angeles or Dallas or Atlanta or Arizona or New Orleans or wherever. That to me makes sense. Of course, New Orleans has a history. They're never really that empty in their game.
But like if we're playing in California, it needs to be in the Rose Bowl. We cannot be playing at SoFi. There's no history there.
Yeah.
If we're in Texas, I'd like to see it. You can make a push for Jerry's World. Sure. I mean, maybe, but like, I don't know if there's a stadium in Texas where I'd want to see it. If we're playing in Florida, I guess you could say Tampa, right?
Yeah.
Like Tampa feels like it's got, significance. Play it in Tampa. Play it in Miami, the Orange Bowl, well, Sun Life Stadium, but or Hard Rock now, Hard Rock.
Yeah.
But like, make sure it's in these stadiums that have some history, some feel to them.
Yeah.
Aesthetic is a huge part of college football, Paul, and we're losing the aesthetic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also here's what's going to happen. My theory on this is that the teams who get the bye are going to watch their rival who they just beat get a home playoff game. And I'll use Michigan and Ohio State in this. So let's say Ohio State beats Michigan, and then they've got the bye. But then they get to watch Michigan beat Oklahoma State in the Big House in front of their fans and build a little bit of that juice and momentum going into the next round of the playoffs. They're going to be like, well, why can't we have that? We want
that. Guess where you're heading next? Ford Field. You're going to Sun Life Stadium.
Yeah, that will change. That will change, and part of it is just taking the kickbacks away from the bowl. You know, that's a big thing. Like there are many legitimate bowls, and they're like, you know, they run their thing legitimately, but there's a lot of kickback going on.
ESPN owns majority of them.
Yeah, I really feel like something's going on with the Bahamas Bowl. Like, how can they keep?
I'm sure.
You know
how can they keep
Paul?
doing that?
It's mid-December and there's nothing else on television.
But there's no one there.
Oh, that game was a banger this year, by the way.
Yeah, but there's
no
no one
South
there.
Carolina. They played it in, I think the game was played in South Carolina this year.
Yeah, but like they can't go to the Bahamas Bowl. That like they show it and it's like it's a private showing of a college football game, like exclusive. You know, it's like Paul McCartney playing in a dive bar. Like that's what
Western Kentucky.
Yeah, so maybe not.
And Old Dominion.
Yeah, Western Kentucky and Old Dominion. So you're like, oh, hey, you know this band from the 90s where you're like, they're playing at the bar down the street. We can get there for $10. And like it's exclusive and private, you know.
And they replaced their lead singer and guitarist.
Yeah, absolutely. When we come back, which team out of this wins the Big 12? We got a tweet here. We'll go through these schools. And we will say it's 7 teams versus the field, Garrett?
I believe it's 7 or 8. I'll check.
7 or 8 versus the field. And so we'll go through that. Next, Josh, host of Big 12 Watch, will really enjoy this topic. This is 365 Sports.
Cars priced right, day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and equal housing lender.
Developed by Startup Waco, a nonprofit organization, GXG is a program designed to support the entrepreneurial development of Baylor University student athletes through NIL activations. The program helps student athletes maximize their platforms and offers a comprehensive support system for them to create and grow new businesses that not only benefit themselves, but also uplift the local economy. Fans who wish to support student athletes can donate to GXG via the GXG NIL Fund, BaylorBears.com/GXG. Contributions to support NIL activations through GXG can be made at BaylorBears.com/GXG. For more information, follow at GXG_GreenXGold on social media and visit the official website www.gxg.startupwaco.com. GXG, empowering student athlete entrepreneurship and uplifting the local economy through NIL activations.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine now has 2 locations to serve you. The original on Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street and the brand new spot in downtown Waco at 600 Franklin Avenue. If you're looking for the best in craft beers or local Texas bourbons, then the original is the place to be. And for the latest trends and online phenomenons, head downtown to the Franklin location. Either way, you're going to get the same great variety, customer service, and speedy experience. Check out both locations on their Facebook and Instagram pages. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street, and now downtown on Franklin Avenue.
This is 365 Sports. The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
Alongside Josh Neighbors of Big 12 Watch, just a couple of humble podcasters, 2 of many. You know, just like Greg Sankey.
Wouldn't call myself humble. I'm a podcaster.
We're just like Greg Sankey, just We're just cogs in the machine. That's all we are.
Just one of the 11.
Just one of the 11. Just a cog in the just
us and the SoCon aren't that different.
Yeah, just a spoke in the wheel. That's all we are here in the SEC. We're just like the Montana Grizzlies. We're they're not even in this division, but we feel like we're just like them. We identify completely with what their plight is and feel really sorry for them. But no, I'm a humble one of 11. My gosh. That's gonna drive me nuts. It's gonna live in my brain.
Does this. It's kind of his brand.
Yeah, it's gonna live in my brain.
We had no idea Texas and Oklahoma had any desire to come to the SEC. We just didn't know. It was a shock to all of us.
Oh, really?
I was surprised when Chris Del Conte called me. Give me a break.
I was floored. Just beside I even called and said, "Are we allowed to do this?"
Yeah,
yeah.
I called Jimmy Pitaro and I wanted him.
Yeah, I wanted to know that I don't want to do this. It's very much. He sounds like Jay Leno back when he took the Tonight Show back from Conan. Look, this is just what NBC did. No, man, you did this. You sabotaged.
I didn't knife him. It wasn't me.
Yeah. No. I didn't, sabotage his lead in by making NBC give me a show at 10 o'clock, which no one thought was going to work. And then, when the affiliates got mad, I blamed it on him and not me, and then got you to give me my show back, and then send Conan off. That's how it sounds.
Tim Robinson. We're looking for the guy who did this.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
What it is.
Yeah.
I will say that he's been smart, and he was on this. I think Sankey tweeted about the Premier League book that he read,
mm-hmm.
and I was like, "This is a problem. He is the most powerful man, and he is now inspired by one of the biggest money making machines in international sports. This is not good."
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
But the Big 12. Let's talk about the
Big 12.
SEC.
Let's talk about the Big 12 now. And all right, so these are the 7 teams that PFF College, and we're going to spend a lot of time with them today. They've given us a lot of content this week.
Good people over there.
Yeah,
they're helping us out.
Good people.
Shout out Chris Collinsworth.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for doing something for me once in your life, Chris. But Arizona, Iowa State, Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Texas Tech, Utah, or the field. Josh, what say you?
Wait, 7 teams or the field? The best 7 teams of the field?
Yeah. Or is there a team in there that fits in?
Teams. The best 7 teams.
Yeah. Or is there a team they're leaving out here?
It was both Kansases, right?
Yeah, both Kansases. Utah.
Can I admit some teams?
Yeah. Let's take some teams out. Iowa State's out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That team was maybe next year, but that team is not athletic enough. They don't do a whole lot for me.
Okay.
I think they're gonna be decent, but they just talk about winning a conference championship is not enough there.
Yeah. Okay.
Arizona, I can see it.
Yeah.
Oklahoma State, I definitely can see it. Utah can definitely see it. So I like Kansas a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I love Kansas. That program's in such a good spot too. The one thing about Kansas, the only game they felt really outclassed in last year was Texas. Oklahoma, they looked like they belonged physically in the same field as OU, and I cannot remember a time we ever said that.
Mm-hmm.
And my concern though is 2 things. Number one, if you give me a full season of Jalen Daniels, yes, it's who would I say that the player of the year would be? I'd say Jalen Daniels. Who would I say has the best chance to win a Heisman out of the conference? I'd tell you Jalen Daniels, but it's a lingering back issue for a guy that we know runs,
mm-hmm.
Is an active runner. It's a great 2-headed monster in the backfield, but we need both guys to be there. The encouraging thing last year was when Bean and Cole Ballard even played, they were competitive, but I just don't know who's going to be quarterback for them. I can't bank on Jalen Daniels. Number 2, they do not play consecutive games in the same state the entire season, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
So I like their schedule, but they don't play they will not play back-to-back games in the same place all year. And so, you're playing in Kansas City at Children's Mercy for your non-con, you go to Illinois, you go back to Children's Mercy, then you go to West Virginia, you play TCU and Missouri, then you go to Arizona State, you go back for Houston and Missouri, then you go to Manhattan, Kansas, back in Missouri again, then you go to Utah, back in Missouri, then you go to Waco. And I think the schedule is not super challenging, but it's going to wear on them.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I mean, and they
still
don't.
a program learning how to win. Still a program learning how to win.
Well, yeah, they're not going to have their own locker room all year long.
Yes.
That's just one of those little annoyances that might get to you, especially when you get to the 7th, 8th, 9th game.
Some teams have homestands. Some teams have back-to-back home games. Some teams have 3 home games in a row. They will not experience that.
Yeah. That's interesting. I'm having a little trouble buying Tech completely. If everything swings, if they make the same kind of improvement that they did from 2 years ago to last year, which I think they did. I mean, and again, it's all about not having to play 3 quarterbacks. That to me, if they can play one quarterback for most of the year in Baron Morton, then I think they'll contend for most of the year. There's a lot of X factors on that.
Be him though, because he's been banged up his entire time there.
Exactly. It's this is an issue they had. When you go Chuck and Baron Morton, it's 2 guys with varying levels of the same problem, right? Well, one of them hurt all the time. One of them's hurt half the time.
I think Zach Kittley did a good job last year, Paul, of starting. Shuck ran a decent amount, and they had quarterback injuries again. When they started hammering Taj Brooks, it looked a lot better. And I think the Wyoming game is a good example. They went on a big run to start the game, but if you throw the ball too much, you're going to allow teams to get back in the game because the clock's going to stop. And if you've got back-to-back 3 and outs running a really fast-paced offense that throws a lot, you might have 2 1-minute drives back-to-back. So you can't really build much momentum. You can't impose your will. Your defense is back out on the field. I thought they got a lot better with the way they played offensively. And I think that's good. But until they show us some consistency at quarterback and some consistency on the defensive end of things. All right. Once again, last year was the first time a coach, last 2 seasons, it's the first time a coach since Mike Leach went to back-to-back bowls. They had not had a 2 coach or a single coach do that since Mike Leach was there. So I want to believe it, and I want it for Tech fans because they let you know about it when you go against them. But show me. And here's the thing: I'll be glad to be wrong because they've done a great job with NIL, and I love Joey McGuire. I know he's been a great friend to us here too. And I think Zach Kittley, watching him grow as a coordinator, has been exciting. But
yeah,
I need some proof. I need some tangible proof.
Yeah, let's take that next step. The most obvious team on here is Utah. Cam Rising's back. The only thing keeping me from going full tilt on Utah is Cam Rising, or is he a shell of that given how bad, I heard him on the interview he did, describing his knee injury, and I was like, oh, okay, well, no wonder. Yeah, it was really bad. So can he still be the guy who, he wasn't a guy who was going to run like Jalen Daniels runs, but he was a guy who was going to get you 7 yards and a first down and take on, make a big play like that. Can he do those things anymore, or is he restricted and not the player he's used to being?
Yeah, Utah's interesting because I know the fan animosity has been such a big talking point. The whole Utah fans not wanting to be in the league, and to me, there's a little bit of BYU being here first that's kind of gotten a touch of that. And it's been confrontational. Kyle Whittingham is about as solid as they come, man. That guy just gets it. He knows how to build a program. He knows how to really develop talent. But anytime you've got a quarterback coming off a bad injury like that, there are some questions. Right. And Cam Rising's had a bunch of injuries too. I mean, he's 25 years old. Cam Rising has been playing college football, I think, ever since I was a junior in college. I mean, that's ridiculous. And I've been out for a minute, Paul. And also he got another year, which I didn't know how he had that because he's actually only played 2 years.
Yeah.
But he's got more eligibility. So I want to see him out there. I want to see them back at peak efficiency because we saw it last year. That team, they pulled their tails out of the fire against Baylor. They were not as good as some other teams, and I thought they were really well coached last year. But you saw it against Northwestern in the final. They need Cam Rising because he's such a good distributor. So I know we're kind of weeding teams out here.
Yeah.
If you can't tell, I've got 3 in mind.
Both
Oklahoma State, Arizona, and K-State.
Okay. Again, I'm not bullish on Oklahoma State other than Mike Gundy and Ollie Gordon. I need to see Alan Bowman make it through a second consecutive year completely healthy. I also need to see him match at least what he did last year.
Are you surprised they didn't go get another quarterback?
Yes. I'm
shocked.
I was very shocked. and here's where I land on 7th-year quarterbacks. Like, even Cam Rising falls into this. If you're there for your 7th year.
Yup.
I mean, is it that good? I mean, it's probably better than like a lot that you could get, but are you delaying the inevitable with your program a little bit when you don't move on to a quarterback who has more upside than a guy who's in his 7th year of?
There's a reason you're not in the pros, right?
Yeah. So like, we again, there's not enough evidence out there for us to even do a science project on what's the 7th-year quarterback, efficiency and all this is how much do you win and all that, because this is a very new thing. So, and it may not be a thing that lasts very long, considering that, COVID year is going to be gone and this extra year that people are getting because of the settlement, like that'll be gone eventually. And we'll may see 60-year quarterbacks, but we're not going to see a lot of 7-year players again.
He was actively bad last year too.
Yeah.
Like there were times where he was like active, like it was like, and here's the thing. I thought they should have gone with Garrett Rangel. I mean, I guess you could say I'm wrong, but like there were not too many games where you're like, wow, Bowman is lighting it up today. Like this guy is, is really in command of everything. And they can do better. Like this is what frustrates me to no end. If Spencer Sanders is their quarterback last year, they don't lose. They don't get just nuked by South Alabama at home. And they don't struggle with Arizona State. Like it was like a pitching rotation. It's like, oh, here comes the middle reliever and here comes the closer. And I guess that's the one nice thing about having Bowman this year is like, we don't have to worry about that at all. But the thing was about the UCF game, Paul, is that like in the Texas game, once those games started, like they were over immediately because Oklahoma State maximized what they had, but they weren't that good. Like they couldn't fight back in a meaningful way in a lot of their games if things were going against them because they just didn't have the personnel to do it. And he's kind of a prime example of it.
Yeah. Garrett, you had something.
So the one consistent theme I continue to see throughout the chat room, and I would love to get y'all's opinion on this, is West Virginia. A lot of people are saying, why is West Virginia not on this list? I mean, that's a senior-laden team. You got Garrett Green coming back, who showed a lot of promise last year. Your running back room is loaded. What are your thoughts on the Mountaineers being off this list, and how do you see? Is there a team you would replace them with?
I'm more bullish on West Virginia than I am on Tech. To be quite honest, maybe even more so than I am on Oklahoma State. Outside of all the things I mentioned, but like I like West Virginia. I've said it over and over again. I think Neil Brown got a little bit of a bad rap. Now, look, he wasn't winning. So, again, there's only one tangible currency in college football, and that's wins. But I think that he got a bad rap. I really do. And he proved it last year with what they could do. They're deep at running back. They've got two quarterbacks they feel really good about in Garrett Green and Nico Marchiol. They're better at wide receiver. They're really good up front. They're going to be solid on defense. I don't see any reason to not put them in this list at all. As a matter of fact, I might be more confident about them than I am about Iowa State.
Well, here's the problem, Paul. So in terms of quality, I like them. Their schedule is brutal. It's a really difficult schedule. They play Penn State the first week. And by the way, that game is at noon, I believe, which is a travesty. Absolute travesty. That game's happening at noon. And then also in the non-conference, they have to go to Pitt. So, Pitt has had some really good years. Like, you're going on the road to play your rival. I know Cincinnati won, I think, at Pitt last year, but like you're not really sure what this Pitt team's going to be, but still it's a road game against a rival, 2 games, 3 weeks. Then you play Kansas at home, which is a difficult game. Another road game at Oklahoma State. Then you have Iowa State, Kansas State, but those games are at home, which is nice. You're at Arizona then at Cincinnati, which is not that bad. You've got Baylor, UCF, at Texas Tech. So out of your road games, you've got a rival in Pitt, at Oklahoma State, at Arizona, and at Tech. Those are all really difficult road games for them. And they've got, in terms of teams that made bowls last year, Penn State, they've got KU, they've got Oklahoma State, they've got Iowa State, they've got Kansas State, they've got Arizona, they've got UCF, and they've got Texas Tech. So they play 8 teams that went to bowls last year, and majority of those teams think they might be better than they were last year. So I like the team. I think there's a chance they could be a better team than they were last year and maybe not win as many games as last year.
Well, there you go. So, yeah, I don't like. Again, if I'm picking a team to win right now, if I had to settle on one, I'm going to say Kansas State. I think that Avery Johnson's dynamic. I think that they've got at running back, like they're not going to have to throw the ball that much, given that they have Giddens and Edwards back there with Avery Johnson, and I think that we just know that their defense is going to be really good. I'm curious to see how the loss of Colin Klein affects them there, because he was such a good offensive coordinator for them, and they're just all the water
replacing offensive coordinators.
Yeah. So, but we'll see. I mean, that's my favorite right now, followed by probably Utah and Kansas. And if Jalen Daniels plays 12 games, then I actually do think that Kansas probably wins the Big 12. But
I have a question for you. Do we have to take a break? Because I have a question. I have
one question, then we can take a break. Yeah.
Maybe you can save it. If you had to vote for the first team Big 12 quarterback preseason, who would you vote for?
Avery Johnson right now.
Really?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
Because I'm not sure if Jalen's going to play all that much.
And so Jalen's would be your number two?
Yeah. If Jalen Daniels was equally healthy, who would you pick?
Oh, Avery. Neither of those guys were my picks.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Who would
if I had to pick one now, I'd pick Noah Fifita.
Oh yeah, Noah Fifita. Okay, well maybe I'm wrong. Yeah. So,
but also if you wanted to argue Cam, I mean, I think it's going to end up being Cam Rising.
Probably. He's the most established one of all of them.
Yeah.
By
but
a
you
long
can make
shot.
an argument for Avery Johnson. You can make an argument for Jalen. You can make an argument for Fifita. You can make an argument for Shedeur Sanders, for Garrett Green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's nobody like West Virginia is the only team not on this list, by the way, that I would put on there. Everybody else, and look, it might be the end of the year might wind up being KJ Jefferson and Gus Malzahn's offense. You should never know.
Lord.
If he's healthy all year long, then that changes a lot of things about this league, especially given the running attack that they're going to have with the three-headed monster. Like I think it's going to be very interesting. It's so hard to tell right now. When we come back, we've talked SEC today. We've talked Big 12. Let's talk ACC wide receivers and then Big 10 wide receivers, back-to-back segments in these assessments from PFF. And then that kind of wraps up the wide receivers running back series. We'll have to do quarterbacks later on, but that's coming. We'll get to that soon. This is 365 Sports.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Our good friend Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jewelers here at 365 Sports. Now, Brad, people who watch and listen to our show know I'm a double-time customer for you, engagement ring and wedding band, and you guys do that great, but that's not all you do at Boozer's Jewelers.
Absolutely, and I always like to say, it's a new year. It's a great way to start the year out. Go through your old jewelry. Go through your wife's jewelry box. Go through anything you're maybe not wearing, something that's broken, something that you're not using. We do a massive amount of custom work. We can take your old jewelry, old diamonds, old watches, and we can convert it into something special for you and make a one-of-a-kind piece of jewelry. And if that's not something you're interested in, a great thing is we can turn that into cash. So we buy gold, we buy diamonds, we'll buy Rolex watches, any kind of heirloom jewelry, anything that's maybe passed down to you.
Boozer's Jewelers, where do they find you, Brad?
We're at 1025 North Valley Mills Drive, right on the corner of Lake Air Drive and Valley Mills with the big clock on the corner.
This is 365 Sports.
The Sikkim 365 app is brought to you by Allen Samuels Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram Fiat. Come by, let's be friends.
Garrett, I sent Josh a lot of materials for the show. Literature. I forgot to send him these two graphics. So I just did send them to him so he can see them. So now this should conclude the small talk portion of this segment. I do want to thank. I thanked him earlier on the triple option. I'm going to thank him again now. St. Mike of McAllen, Texas, who works for AT&T. We had an outage here in Waco, Josh, and I found out today from St. Mike of McAllen, Texas, who came without a work order to my house because he just saw that we didn't have internet on the list. He came and fixed our internet today from AT&T after AT&T, the company, told me about 30 different things about when our internet was going to get fixed. And they fixed the outage on Saturday and then just kind of kept pushing back my appointment, which was supposed to be Friday morning. Then it was supposed to be Saturday morning. And then they're like, Monday, we're not going to even look at you. We found out we were one of the last 2 houses that hadn't been serviced yet in the whole area. And that made sense because one of the masks we saw was basically like, you two. Like, this is you. This is it. And it was because a tree branch fell and knocked the cable out, which took him about 45 minutes to fix. And that could have been done literally 72 hours ago. But St. Mike of McAllen, Texas, thank you. Thank you. I've already called the Pope. We have I've started him on the road, and the Pope was well aware of his prowess as a savior of the internet. So we're going to start this segment. We'll do ACC. Next segment we'll do Big Ten. And Josh, I know that we're Big 12 focused a lot of time, but I'm very curious. And a lot of these guys, come and go and are kind of in the wheelhouse, so we can follow along. Miami dominates this list as well. They should, but PFF has a weird way of grading things, and the fact that, part of it is, how many snaps that they played. So, maybe they're not as big, but the depth that Miami has at wide receiver, all these guys should be higher than most of the people on the list. The fact that, FSU loses Keon Coleman and Johnny Wilson, but Ja'Kai Douglas not on the list. Like, there's some things that I'm a little
There's a Stanford player on my ACC list, Paul. What's going on?
There's 2 SMU players on your ACC list as well.
That's true. Actually, you're right.
It is wild times, but I'll tell you, I would tell you right now, if I had to pick, the best receiver returning in the ACC is Xavier Restrepo. He's a first down if you can get it to him. His problem's always been quarterback, and with the 3 that they have, Jacoby George, who is fantastic, by the way, and now Sam Brown, they should be really, really good with Cam Ward. Like, that should all play out pretty well. I think PFF will find themselves like walking into this one even better because Cam Ward's going to get these guys the ball better than any of the, barely alive quarterbacks they've had over their careers have.
Yeah. You're telling me that a team coached by Mario Cristobal should be good? I don't know. They should be. Well, no, but this is totally correct. Like, Restrepo is a guy that, completely hamstrung by the carouseling of the quarterbacks at Miami. I look at this list like this conference is not especially deep at the wide receiver position. We're used to Pitt having some good guys. Carolina's had some really good ones come through recently. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Florida State, right? Did Clemson lose anybody off of last year's? I'm trying to think.
Bo Collins went to Notre Dame, and they weren't really good at that position anyway. That's
right.
That's where that like the kind of the rubber met the road.
Last year they refused to go to the portal and get anybody can get any separation. I forgot about that. Yeah,
that plan worked out so well for them. They decided to run it back.
They run it back. Dabo. Also, I want to shout out one guy that's on this. The graphics up. Sorry, I on our screen. All I see is us. Is the graphic on the screen?
Yes,
everybody
it is.
Can see it.
Yeah.
So the one guy I want to highlight is Eric Iomanor. I think it's how you say it.
Yeah.
Just giving the best corner in the country, Travis Hunter, the business last year. Could not cover him. Ball skills were good from Travis Hunter. He could not cover him. Just a really good athlete. And really, the thing about that was, all right, you got a guy that's draped all over. You can let it bother you, or you can just be like, you know what? I'm going to use my size. You throw it in my direction. I'm going to create enough of an angle. You get it around me. I'm going to go in and grab it. And that's a guy that this year, if Stanford's got anything, worthwhile in terms of a quarterback, he's a guy who can take a big jump. And then I want to see at Virginia Tech what my guy Jalen Lane does, because this passing attack, it's lost a bunch of quarterbacks. And that's a team, though, that in terms of returning production and what we're thinking about that offense, they should be really, really good, especially on the ground. But if you're going to be good on the ground, that's probably going to open things up for one or two guys to have a big season through the air. So I think Jalen Lane's got a good chance to have a big season. And look, a lot of people are banking on Virginia Tech having a big season. If they do, he's going to be a massive reason why. So Miami, I'll believe it when I see it. Mm-hmm. They're certainly loaded in those positions and certainly have a quarterback who can help them. Virginia Tech, they've got a guy I think really does help them a lot in that area. And then also in terms of an individual performance, one that sticks out that I think about from last year, not being somebody who watched ACC football every week, definitely Iomanor is that for me.
I'm kind of surprised that, look, Stanford has the benefit of being Stanford. So, they're going to lose some transfers, obviously, but because they're Stanford, they can always be like, well, is the school you want to go to Stanford? No. So he's one of those guys I was just kind of surprised that didn't get in the portal. But again, it's Stanford. Like, not everything's about football, but he's one of the most talked about receivers in the country. And just looking across the list, of teams that aren't represented here, like the Carolina's not. FSU has pretty much all new starters across the board there.
FSU, yeah, that's the one where it's like, look, by the end of the year, is an FSU wide receiver going to be top 10? Or top 5 or more than one, probably, right?
Yeah, but when you lose the guys they lost, come on. But Kobe Paysour at North Carolina is the most recognizable name they have coming back there. So I don't know, and Max Johnson is going to be the starting quarterback. So we don't know how that's going to go at UNC.
I can tell you how it's going to go. Not well.
I forgot he is there. I totally forgot Max Johnson is there. Also, Wake Forest will probably end up having a guy. Oh, Donovan Green for them is back after I think he might have been injured last year. It feels like Wake Forest always pulls out a receiver or two, whether it was Sage Surratt, who had it a couple years ago, was really, really good. They had another guy. Greg Dortch was really, really good. So Donovan Green's a guy to watch from Wake.
Yeah, absolutely. So this list is not maybe as fervent as the Big Ten list or what that will be, but and also kind of shows you, look, this is the state of the ACC right now, where when we did the Big 12 list a couple days ago, that one it's full. The Big 12 has a lot of guys. The SEC has a lot of guys. The Big 10 will have a lot. The ACC is in a very weird transitional period right now. And the two best teams in it, Clemson and Florida State, year over year, don't have anybody on this list. Clemson desperately wants to get somebody on this list.
By choice has nobody on this list.
Yeah. They did you hear him say that all of our players are better than every player in the transfer portal?
Yeah, I watched them last year. It's not true. Especially not true.
Your recruits are fantastic. He's going to keep recruiting at a high level. They're going to keep winning. But the problem is that when you lose Bo Collins, and then look, here's the other one. The one I used in the video I did about him was Andrew Makuba, who's not a receiver, but he was the best defensive back in the ACC last year, and now he's in the SEC playing for Texas. You don't just go.
Yeah. What about the Goldman Sachs kid that was kicking for him last year?
Yeah, exactly. You can't. You want to go in the transfer portal and get a kicker?
Yeah.
Would have won
for the Big 12. By the way, question: Was it Tataroa? Was he the number one?
He was. Yes, he was number one. Right, Garrett?
I was not here for Big 12.
He was not here. Let me see. I might still have that graphic, but yeah, he was. He was up there.
I had to think he's number one.
Yeah, but I think he was number one. Yeah, but then there were some other guys that not on the list at all, and maybe it's because they didn't have enough snaps. But it was Isaiah Bond wasn't on the SEC one, and I was
that made no sense to me.
It made no sense at all. How they left off Isaiah Bond, and I would assume he played at least 250 snaps last year, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's why they left him off. So PFF strange about this. In the next segment, we'll talk about the the Big Ten. I'm sorry. We'll break these up a little bit so they're not so monotonous. We have another topic on the key games of next year. This is from Joel Klatt that we'll talk about next. Then we'll get into the Big Ten wide receivers after that. So we're just a little bit behind, Garrett, right?
Just a hair.
Just a hair behind. So we're going to catch up here, play the break. When we come back, we'll talk about these games, and then we'll do the Big Ten wide receivers at 5 o'clock before John McClain at 5:25, and then the top 5 after that. This is 365 Sports.
We love TexasBeefHouse.com, the Duvall family, and everything they represent, their products, and also those who love to grill during the summer. We've discussed that with Samantha Duvall, who joins us, and now Father's Day is just around the corner.
We've got this year a Wagyu New York strip Father's Day bundle, and that will come with a package of our New York strips. There's 2 steaks to a package of our jalapeno and cheese patties, a package of our regular hamburger patties, a stick of summer sausage, and our garlic links. And it's all online, TexasBeefHouse.com. This bundle will ship free in Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and Louisiana. So this is the perfect time to grab it because all of our steaks are only sold in auction. There will only be a limited number of these packages. So get online and order yours for your favorite dad out there. We're growing every day. Our biggest next step that we have is Bid on Beef. It is actually going to open the month of June with a sale up in New York, but this is going to be a website that we're going to do all of our beef auctions on, so it just makes it a lot easier, our own platform.
Go to TexasBeefHouse.com. Father's Day, the summer, family reunions, and so much more, plus the ability to bid on beef. TexasBeefHouse.com.
It was broad daylight. I stepped into a gas station for 5 minutes to grab a snack, and just like that, my car was broken into. They made out like a bandit. My laptop, my phone, everything. I called my agent to see what could be done, and he restored my faith in humanity. My claim was processed so quickly, and I was able to recover my losses.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Thank you for calling your local Marco's Pizza. We're turning up the heat with our new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Fresh, house-made dough is topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers. At only $5.99, this limited-time product is a hot deal. Add it to your order while you can. A Marco's team member will be with you shortly.
Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it, and that offer on the Reaper Cheesy Bread is available right now at any of the 5 Marco's Pizza locations in Waco, including Belmead, China Spring, Robinson, Woodway, and Hewitt. Order online at Marcos.com. Call for a pickup or delivery. Marco's Pizza is turning up the heat with their all-new Reaper Cheesy Bread with fresh, hot, house-made dough topped with a spicy cheese blend infused with jalapeno, habanero, and Carolina Reaper peppers, and only $5.99 and for a limited time only. Marco's Pizza, the fastest-growing pizza brand in America. 5 locations in Waco, and the new Reaper Cheesy Bread. Marco's Pizza. Pizza lovers get it.
Established in 2007 and independently owned, Alliance Bank Central Texas is committed to helping families and businesses meet their financial goals. From their tellers to their board of directors, they know the importance of superior service and competitive products. Customers have confidence knowing that their financial needs are in good hands. It's your bank, Alliance Bank Central Texas, with 2 Waco locations, 4721 Bosque Boulevard and 191 Archway Drive on Highway 84, and at AllianceBankTexas.com. Member FDIC and Equal Housing Lender.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
This is 365 Sports. Text us at 254-339-1122. The text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
Welcome back. Paul Catalina and Josh Neighbors here on 365 Sports. All right, this is, and let me send you this graphic as well, Josh. I'm just now seeing that I didn't. So you have this one. But these are from Joel Klatt. These are the top 10 games that will shape the 2024 season. And right off the bat, you get LSU again, a game that certainly I think shaped the season last year, LSU and FSU. LSU like that sent both the teams on their, actually for both years, I think it sent Florida State on their path. Colorado and Nebraska is an interesting one as well. But you see these games. Josh, I know you have the graphic. Just let me know when you've gone through it. The October 5th in Tallahassee will swing the ACC. You know, one of those teams will be in the SEC championship or ACC championship game. I say SEC like they're already there. No, but in the ACC championship game, there'll also be a lot of weird realignment energy around it because outside of that day, these two schools are so closely aligned on what they want their futures to be. It's going to be interesting to hate each other for a day and be like, all right, we're back on the team after that. But yeah, there's some really good ones on here. What jumps out at you? What should not be here about shaping the college football season? And is there one you can think of that goes in here in place of it?
Colorado, Nebraska needs to take a hike. That game. Yeah. I mean, Nebraska missed a bowl 5-7. I know people think they're going to be good this year. We'll see. In Colorado, obviously he's got all this stuff. So it's fun. It's exciting. And what week is that of the year? Is it early again? I'm assuming
it's September 7th. Yeah.
So yeah, it's going to be fun then, but it was fun then last year. And where did those two teams go? So
I loved your tone in that. It was
well,
fun,
look, let's be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
What? Neither of those teams have been relevant.
Yeah.
So shape what? Who makes the Alamo Bowl? Great. That's yeah. Who's gonna be in the Poinsettia Bowl? Fun.
I love it. Yeah, look, Florida State, I know I'm biased here, but they played Notre Dame towards the end of the year. To me, that shapes the season, especially that point in playoff contenders, way more than that one does. And there's probably some SEC
Virginia Tech
games.
Clemson. I think Virginia Tech Clemson should be on this list.
Yeah, because Virginia, that could be Virginia Tech's coming out party right there. If Kyron Jones continues to do well and Clemson continues to be kind of the Diet Coke version of themselves that they were a year ago or the last couple of years where, they're still good, but they're not scary. I think what Clemson is they're not scary anymore. They're very efficient. They're going to be very well coached and they're going to be a pain in the butt to play, but they're not, you look at all the teams on this list. Georgia's scary. Texas is scary. Ohio State's scary. Oregon has the chance to be really scary with Dylan Gabriel and Evan Stewart and the offense that they have. Michigan and Michigan's on here twice, and they might be scary, but they have to rebuild their whole team. So every other team on this thing outside of Colorado, Nebraska or not, USC may even have the chance to be scary. We'll see. I mean, that one. Let's see where Lincoln Riley is on that. I think a bigger game for USC will be much later in the year when they start, playing some of those Big Ten games. But, Clemson's just not scary anymore. They don't have that holy crap we're playing Clemson because they just don't have it, and they need to get that back. But I think last year the ACC showed as a whole they just weren't afraid of them anymore.
No, I mean, physically, what do they do to make you think that they are separating themselves?
Yeah.
Wide receiver is a big position. Think about a lot of these guys, the terrorizing Clemson defensive line. Guys like Dexter Lawrence.
Yeah.
They don't have that right now.
Yeah.
And a quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. I think Kate Klubnik's really good. Doesn't look like that type of player. Will Shipley's good, but it's the offensive line. Who's the last Clemson offensive lineman you remember going to the draft? T. Higgins at wide receiver, Justin Ross, those guys were scary. A game I'm surprised not on here, Paul, is Notre Dame and A&M.
Yeah.
Because I think Mike Elko can coach, flat out coach. And, Notre Dame, a lot of folks think that with the schedule they have, and also bringing in a new quarterback, Riley Leonard, that this is a massive opportunity for them. And I agree. It is a massive opportunity with them, but their schedule is always so challenging. So they kind of need to, if they want to go to the playoff, they kind of have to win this game. Like you can't be with the schedule. It's always that tough. You can't be spotting losses that early.
No.
So I think to me, it's a huge game.
I would not necessarily put Penn State on here yet. Because again, Penn State and Clemson live in the same thing to me. Like, are they scary or are they just efficiently good?
I think you could put Penn State if you would have put Penn State versus West Virginia, because I think that game has a lot of bearing on the season for both of them, and it's early on. Like, I think that would be justifying in putting Penn State, but until they prove it, you're right. There's no point.
I think it's funny because I think like ostensibly like that, like Penn State, like Michigan to me is super interesting because it's like, all right, where is Michigan at? And Penn State, can they elevate from what they were last year, even though they're losing some guys on the defensive side of things? And I think, if you want to pick West Virginia game, that'd be a great example of a game that's gonna have some bearing. So I would go that direction. Ohio State is prominently featured on this. To me, guys, I'm tasked right now for Bleacher Report to find the 10 best teams in the country for next year. Ohio State's my number one.
I agree with you. They had the most efficient portal haul, like not only just big names, but like where were you deficient and how do you get better? Like they got better. Like quarterback may be a question. Like I think that like
they got better quarterback.
They got better quarterback. Yeah,
no doubt.
Yeah. I mean, is he going to be good enough to win a national title at Ohio State? We'll see. But, they didn't lose anybody, right? They didn't really lose anybody outside of Marvin Harrison. They got Quinshon Judkins going in the backfield. They got Caleb Downs. They got Will Howard, who's better than Kyle McCord. And then they've got a bunch of young studs behind him that are just waiting in the wings.
Got Travion Henderson, Emeka Ibuka, Quinshon Judkins, Will Howard. They have a defense that the only player who does not have a redshirt junior or redshirt senior by his name is I'm totally blanking on his name. Kid from a secondary player they got.
Caleb Downs.
Yeah, and he's like the best player of the defense, and he's a sophomore.
Yeah.
So like their defensive line could be like really good. Yes, like they have a tough schedule, but I think to me it's the best team. So I agree with all those. Michigan, I'm interested in. I would only put one. I know Ohio State, Michigan's always interesting. But like I would much rather see just Michigan, Texas. I think that's kind of the game.
Yeah, look, that's a big one. That's a big one for Texas to go up there and beat a team in a place.
Texas should be better than them this year, by the way.
Yes, they should be. Absolutely, they should be. But that's still a tough place to go and play. And so that's certainly a season-defining game for Texas. I'm distressed that there's only one Big 12 team on this list, and it's Colorado. There's several former Big 12 teams on there, 3 former Big 12 teams on the list. But you're telling me that like Kansas and Kansas State is going to shape the season if they're both that good? This could be the best Sunflower Showdown ever. Like the most high stakes maybe the most high stakes for Armageddon ever. If Iowa State is as good as they think there's going to be. So there's a couple of games in the Big 12 I would say that like supersede some of these. Now your Mizzou Tigers at Alabama. Late in October, is Mizzou for real? Is Bama still at least a little bit of Saban Bama? As Kalen DeBoer have them, close to where they were? And is Mizzou and Brady Cook and Luther Burden and was it Carroll, the running back that they got from Mizzou? Are they?
Yeah, and they also still have Theo Weiss, who was fantastic for them last year at wide receiver, and then Greg Norfleet, who's a really good tight end. Like their passing attack should be dynamic once again. Defense, they lost a decent amount. I'm interested to see how they can make up for that.
Is the thicker kicker still there?
No, he's at Carolina now.
That's right. Oh, well,
gonna miss him.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But I do agree with that one. Ohio State and Oregon is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Because you've got a 6-year guy in Dylan Gabriel, who's there at Oregon. Evan Stewart is going to explode in Will Stein's offense. Absolutely explode in that offense. And Jimbo Fisher is going to kick himself for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
With his gold-plated boot, but still.
Yeah. Can you win a championship with Dylan Gabriel as a quarterback?
No. That's good. That's an interesting question. But still, the team's going to be really
minds
good.
Want to know.
Yeah. Look, they, I hesitate to say they downgraded a little from Bo Nix, but Bo Nix it was really kind of in his bag last year.
I think you can make an argument they might have downgraded.
Yeah. What do you think?
They 100%. He's 100%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look,
Definitely-
Bo Nix is a first-round
definitely
draft pick. Dylan Gabriel's not going to be.
No, because of his physical limitations.
Yes.
Like his arm is, you're not like, wow, that was a Dylan Gabriel rocket. He's thrown across the middle there.
He's also like 5'6".
Yeah, sure.
I mean, he's not a big dude. I mean, he's a gamer. Like if I'm in the situation Oregon's in where I got Dante Moore, he wants to develop and I need a veteran, I'm happy with Dylan Gabriel, especially given the talent I have around him. But is he going to beat, Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, is he going to be better than all of them to get you there? I mean, we'll see. We'll see. But I do like it. All right, so let's dive into the Big Ten wide receivers. And then we have a tweet from John Rothstein about basketball in the Big 12 that I'm very curious for your opinion on, Josh. But here are the highest graded Big Ten wide receivers that had at least 250 snaps last year. The number one is Demir Miller from Rutgers. So congratulations, Rutgers. Elijah Surratt from Indiana, Tez Johnson at Oregon, Jamal Banks at Nebraska, who didn't catch a lot of passes last year because they didn't throw enough and didn't have good quarterback play. But there's this list right here. I know Emeka Ibuka did not play a lot, but I mean, that's the best receiver in the Big Ten, right? I'm not wrong about that, am I?
That's correct. He is the best wide receiver in the Big Ten.
Yeah. And Evan Stewart's also in the Big Ten. And
also correct.
Yes. No, look, I'm not knocking Tez Johnson at all. We've seen him. But a lot of these guys, this is a weird list here. Logan Loya, I do like
there
it.
There are three Indiana receivers. And look, they were good at receiver last year too, but it's just we've got 3 Indiana, Rutgers, Minnesota, Wisconsin.
Yeah. What? Like, this was the one I'm like, what is this list?
Right.
Like, you could have put an Iowa.
This is a PFF has their own system type list.
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely they do. And, I know Penn State kind of got cleared out of their wide receiver room. They had a couple transfers, but, I mean, like, Michigan State has such a whole new roster, but for, I mean, like, again, new receivers all over the place. One of them's going to be, I'll tell you, who'll be on this list at the end of the year is Jeremiah Smith, the true freshman at Ohio State.
Yes.
The most ready-to-play athlete ever. But Julian Fleming at Penn State, who transferred from Ohio State, he didn't make the list. Purdue, of course, lost their best wide receiver. He's in Oklahoma now, but yeah, it's so weird. And part of this, though, is transfer portal, Josh. These are our transfer portal guys all across the board who have come in, like maybe they came from somewhere else, but to have the number one receiver on the list from Rutgers is bizarre.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Rutgers' passing attack last year. Dynamic.
Tell me all the explicit details you remember about it.
God, I'm not even sure I watched the Rutgers game last year.
I can tell you I did not.
Can't recall one.
Yeah, I did not. Also, not on this list is any USC player.
Yeah, is that freshman? What's his name?
Zachariah Branch?
Yeah, he's not on this list?
No.
I know he's not, but any reason?
Yeah. Yeah, that one I don't get at all. Like Zachariah Branch, who maybe he didn't get to 250 snaps. I don't know.
It might have been snaps because he only ended up with 31 catches last year. But if you're talking about a guy who's good enough, I mean, it definitely looked like he was good enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we have so many, transfers and changes and all of that. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, this one, I thought we'd have more time on this, but really, I think we've wound up more confused than anything.
Well, I just didn't watch a lot of these guys play. There are a lot of them. These guys were on teams that won 5-6 games.
Yeah,
Indiana won 5?
Yeah, and look, they have a new coach with Kurt Cignetti, so. I know he's a good coach, but I think he's got one of the hard. I did a top 5 on it the other day. I think he's got one of the hardest jobs that there possibly could be. And of his 11 starters on offense this year, 8 of them are senior transfers from somewhere else, including a quarterback, Curtis Rourke. Yeah. So who came in from Ohio.
Yeah.
So
a lot of betting on action with Curtis Rourke for me. So I'm glad he's still in the fight. Good to see it.
All right, let's go to this other thing because I feel like we're going to get fired up about this. So the Big 12 has voted to introduce Hollywood floor seats for the home team during the 2024-2025 basketball season. That's where seats between the scorer's table and the bench and the team bench are. I don't know how much I like this, Josh. I know that it's more like revenue. It's another thing to spike it. It's another to create interest. An NBA guy is running the Big 12 now, so I'm not surprised at all that this happened. But I watch those NBA games every night. I actually think that those seats, which are super expensive, don't really look all that great to me. I'd rather sit like 2 or 3 rows back and be able to eat my nachos without the coach running into me. Personally.
So are they populating these seats or are they making you buy them?
They're going to make you buy them.
Like,
Absolutely.
Are we doing like a UFC Trump type deal here? Or are we going to make, like, is the goal to get stars in there or is it just to
I think it's to generate revenue. Because I mean, like, look, maybe, somebody comes in that's a big star. Jason Sudeikis goes to a Kansas game. He's probably going to sit there, right? Like that's probably what's going to happen. But I would say that, like, it's another level for boosters, and they're allow them to sell those, right
Yeah,
there.
if it's Hollywood seats, so like that implies Jack Nicholson, Lakers, right? So like, I don't know how much Jack's paying for his seats still at this point in time. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how that all works. So financially, if it makes the money, good. But like, it needs to be people I know in the seats. Like that's what, like, if you want to give me Hollywood seating, I want some Hollywood stars, and I want it to make sense too.
Yeah, you just want Jim that's a big booster to get it, right?
Yeah, it's like, here's Craig. He owns, half of, X supply company. That's not Hollywood.
No.
Right? Like, like, for all the problems about what the UFC does, you're like, Mel Gibson, why is he here?
Yeah.
Like, this is out of left field. A whole lot of, who's it? Not Jean-Claude Van Damme. Who's the other actor? Steven Seagal. Like,
Yeah.
Steven Seagal. They let him in public. Like, I know it's crazy, but like, you kind of want a little bit more of that. We're generating buzz here as opposed to revenue. So, Hollywood seats implies that we're gonna get some Hollywood people in there, unless it's just Hollywood priced seats. Then we're just going to get rich boosters.
Yeah.
I mean, Tech could do it like with Mahomes, but they're about the only one.
But like every
top
game,
that I can think,
Well,
that's not going to work.
But he's not going to pay to go to the game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like, you put him in because you want him there. Like, you put him in the seats. You don't make him pay.
Yeah. I mean, look, Chip Gaines is a regular fixture, a season ticket holder at Baylor. I've actually never seen him in the same seats twice in a row. Like, he moves around. And again, I wouldn't charge Chip
Wouldn't charge him a dime.
No, I wouldn't charge him. He brings a lot of good attention to it, but also how many, like, you're talking about you're trying to fill these for every game. So you're 18 home games or so, whatever it is, 20, out of the game, you play all these home games. Maybe it's not that many, but you've got all these home games, and, you're going to have 9 in the Big 12 home games, right? Of your
soon to be 10.
Yeah, 10, 9, 10 home games that you're going to have. So you got 10 home games in that schedule. Are you going to get 10 Hollywood people to fill these seats every time? Like, who is it at Iowa State? Who is it at UCF that's going to come and fill those things 10 times? Right? But, like, you're talking about filling them 10 times if it's Hollywood seats. And most of the time, I think this is going to be big-time boosters. It's going to be,
I can't wait to see, like, Caitlin Clark at an Iowa State game.
Just watching the enemy.
Yeah. I think at dinner family, I think some of her family are Iowa State people. But like, I mean, I don't know, man. Like it's cool when Jack Nicholson does it.
Yeah.
It's cool when Spike does it. But like, we're not going to get we're not getting Oshai Abaji against pick the most famous K-State alum out there. You know what I mean?
Who is the most famous K-State alum?
That's a Kansas State people question.
Yeah.
I feel like if I say somebody, they're gonna jump on me for not knowing.
Yeah, that's State alum. Let's
Who's
see.
fun?
Jacob
Pullen.
Michael Beasley. Yeah.
Michael B. Good Lord.
Yeah. Aaron Brockovich is from there. Eric Stonestreet. There you go. Eric Stonestreet is a K-State guy. Forgot
He's
about
big
that.
Chiefs guy. Big Chiefs guy. Yeah.
Big Chiefs guy. What? Darren Sproles could be there.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Sure.
It's like
Jack, the Packers fan, wants to make sure that we don't, forget about Jordy Nelson.
Sure, man. This is like I get it. Like Brett Yormark's trying, whatever, but like it just matters how you implement this.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. I mean, there's plenty of athletes that could fill this.
What you really need for this to work is we need some more Cade Cunninghams, number one, and we need them in big games against. So like we need Cade Cunningham at Allen Fieldhouse.
Yeah.
And what you would do there is you'd have somebody that, or like, it's like, hey, CJ Stroud sitting courtside because Cade Cunningham's coming to play against Houston, at Houston. Like things like that is kind of what you need for this to be. And like people will start to say, hey, I always see really cool people at Big 12 games. But like I feel like, I remember like when Zion was going around with Duke, like at UVA, LeBron showed up at Virginia to go see Duke play against UVA. So I think you kind of need some things like that to go your way for this to kind of look like a successful public campaign. And money wise, if it makes you money, maybe you split it to where it's like, hey, 7 games out of your 10, you make somebody pay. The 3, we populate it with some stars.
Yeah,
maybe that's how you do it. But I don't know.
I'm struggling here on Iowa State.
Brock Purdy.
Yeah, I mean, like outside of I'm trying to find athletes. Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, yes, the athletes like Tyrese Halliburton can be there, but again,
I want like somebody that's like, what? Why? Like, I want some, I like Ashley Judd at like Kentucky.
Yeah.
Like you need somebody who's like, and I want like somebody in their prime.
Yeah.
Tom Holland's at UCF, Texas Tech tonight. What's going on?
Oh yeah, exactly. Like, oh my God, Spider-Man's here?
Yeah, exactly.
Holy cow. Yeah. I was at a Baylor Texas game, and the picture is still famous on Twitter, but Natalie Portman and Michael Fassbender were in Austin shooting a movie, and they went to the game. And that was like one of the, you're going to see McConaughey, right? But like seeing Natalie Portman and Michael Fassbender there was like, it was like, whoa.
McConaughey was like sitting on the end of the bench for Shaka Smart's teams.
Yeah, exactly. Like that week. So like those seats they're in the SEC now. So you don't even get the benefit of McConaughey anymore. No. It's gone. It's over. So Garth Brooks at OSU. There you go.
Hell yeah, man.
Yeah, there we go. One of the best concerts, if not the best, I've ever seen. So
that's what everybody says. Everybody's like, you got, and I don't like country music that much. They're like, you got to see Garth live. You have to.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It's like a religious experience.
It's unbelievable. So by the way, here's one that we get at Baylor now. We've gotten him a couple times. Is Bill Gates, because he's dating Paula Hurd, whose name is on buildings here. So we've gotten Bill Gates courtside at Baylor basketball. Which
pretty good.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm sure Baylor is like, Paula Hurd has a bunch of money, but they're like, hey, lock that down.
He's too busy investing in water right now.
Good for him.
Yeah.
We need clean water. Right, you know what? I'll give him a good little test area. Here. Our water tastes so weird, and no one can tell us why.
I thought it was from Stephenville.
It's that, or it's something else.
That's a Texas thing.
Yeah. You guys have great water in Arkansas, right?
Well, it's like most water elsewhere.
Okay. Here, it's a weird. Austin has great water. I mean, I'm growing out of Austin.
Fluoride. A lot of fluoride.
Good for your teeth. But, so I don't know. But anyway, yeah, I've been trying, I'm looking at, Ty Kev on the chat room So many celebrities at UVA games. LeBron, Tina Fey. Well, she went there. Brad Pitt, Ana de Armas, Vince Gill, John Grisham. You know, I'll tell you right now, you get Ana de Armas here, you'll get people talking. You get Ana de Armas anywhere, you'll get people talking.
Anywhere, yes.
Anywhere, that's a win. You get Ana de Armas and Sydney Sweeney at a basketball game.
Sydney Sweeney's at Arizona State, West Virginia tonight. Like, what happened?
All right. Sydney Sweeney would fit in very well at Arizona State, by the way. I'll just tell you.
Oh, my God. You kidding me? Yeah.
It's a campus full of Sydney Sweeneys.
It really is. It's a beautiful place.
Yeah. Yeah. Emory didn't get to go there. He's very mad at me for that. He gets beat at Arizona State. Still holds it against me for all these years. Oh, here's something we haven't talked about. And we're just trying to fill for a couple minutes before we go to John McClain, and then Josh has to go off into that good night and do his actual jobs. But Notre Dame has added Boise State in 2025. This one, I'm a Boise State stan a little bit, Josh, because whenever they go into a place, and I fell victim to this at FSU, they go in and ruin your season. They did it to Oregon back in the day. You remember the LeGarrette Blunt punch?
Yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah, all that. They are
Virginia Tech lost to them in an opening night game, a Monday night game when Tyrod Taylor was there. Calabama beat them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, this is a big one, and Notre Dame not messing around at all. Their schedule is usually good. I'm curious to see what happens to Notre Dame if the ACC breaks up. How do they fill out their schedule like they did? Do they do it like they did before, or are there people out there that part of the reason they made this alignment with the ACC is it fed them enough games to where they didn't have to scramble. It was mutually beneficial. Now a lot of people are going to want to play Notre Dame, but there's also a lot of teams out there no, I don't want to. I don't want to be just a part of it on the way. So yeah, well, I'm very curious. What?
When are these games happening?
This one's 2025. So just next year. So we don't have to wait forever. I think we had Mac Rose in here a couple weeks ago, and we asked him about the schedule, and I said, does it feel weird that you've made all these things, and these COVID a couple years ago, we were doing it in 3 days, and then now we're back to going 7 years down the line.
It was that Coastal BYU game that proved it could be done, in a quick turnaround.
Yeah.
It's why are we scheduling for 2042?
Yes. Yeah. Let's make an agreement for that. Well, Josh, I know you have to go into the studio and do that. Big 12 watch over on Crystal Ball College Football, Bleacher Report over there. So super glad to hyped up to read your stuff. Send it to us. We'll pump it up. Make sure you get it there. We'll make sure people click on it and read it for you. So thank you for hopping in for the full show today. Usually we just do a segment or an hour. So anytime I can repay the favor, Josh, I'm here for you. So thank you so much,
Paul. It's always good to talk to you, Garrett. It's always good to talk to you as well.
You too,
it's always
brother.
good to talk to the listeners too. Love you guys, and I'll talk to you all soon.
All right, that's Josh Neighbors from Big 12 Watch. We'll get to John McClain here in a second, Garrett, but I think that worked out nicely.
I think it did well.
By the way, we always talk about our people watching on YouTube, which we love you, and we wish there were more of you, but we have a lot of people that watch on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, as well. So if you're watching on Twitter, hi-de-ho. What's up? So
we've had a hell of a day today. The numbers have been really good. So definitely appreciate you tuning in, whether it is on here or on Twitter. Make sure to get at us every day.
Yeah. Sir blah, blah, blah. Paul must love having total freedom this week. I don't know. I'll be quite honest with you. This no internet at my house thing has consumed much of my brain.
I got you.
Because of it's hard. My wife works out of the house, and so it's hard to plan for things when a company doesn't tell you. So I don't know. I'll let you know by Friday, how much I enjoy the freedom. It's nice to be able to spread this over a couple people to we didn't have Off the Radar today because Craig's not here. And that's a segment I never have to worry about. Say for when we have spring football, like that's locked down. Smokey usually will get like 2 things before we even talk to him. So like the fact that you have to fill all what are 8 or 9 of our segments is a little challenging. Like I'm not complaining about it. I love it. It's a good challenge. It's just, this is the worst time of year to do it because people are on vacation.
And there's not much going on.
There's not much going on in the world. It's like, this is the downtime for all, like, unless you're a baseball podcast.
Yeah.
Or a hockey or a basketball podcast, that even like you could be a basketball podcast and not cover the Mavericks or the Celtics, and you're not really doing anything right now. You might be talking about it, but if you're a Blazers podcast or a Heat podcast, you don't really give a crap. So this is the kind of tough year for anybody. So unless you're a baseball specific show or podcast, this is not your time of year.
No,
and that's why like ESPN struggles. That's why you're going to see like, oh, look, Justin Jefferson. Like, that's why their stupid things are like, hey, look what.
That's why they talk LeBron year round.
Yeah. Look what so-and-so tweeted.
Don't care.
Yeah. Jamar Chase or T. Higgins took the Bengals off his Instagram.
Yes.
Those kind of stories you get, which we won't do. I'm glad I'm not from the era of where taking you off Instagram is a social moray that I have to
Yes. I could not imagine growing up with social media the way I would. There's no way.
It's genuinely how I found out that people have gotten divorced just by scrolling through social media. And then you're like, man, you just see somebody from high school and you're like, oh, that's different. Like somebody that posts a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's Dan? Maybe they're just on vacation, or something. Like maybe he's taking all the pictures, and then curiosity will get the better of you after you've seen 10 of them where they used to be all in together, and then you go, you're like, oh, well, he's been erased, just gone. Like, okay, well, all right, sorry about it. It's such a weird thing, and then there are also people who I never see or never talk to.
Yeah,
it's just like when you. This is the side effect of when social media started, you just added everybody that you knew because you're like, oh, this is interesting. Oh, we were friends back in high school, and you're like, I didn't really care for him that much then.
Yeah, no interest.
We didn't hang out as much as I thought we did.
No,
that's one thing I'll tell you. You find out as you get older. Like I remember going back to my 10-year high school reunion, and it was stark, where you're like, so man, you still into the Ramones? That's really all I remember about you. And you think we used to hang out all the time. Mm-hmm. You were just in the same room all the time.
Yeah.
You weren't really hanging out. Them.
Yeah.
You're just in the same room,
Yeah.
And then you had your thing. So it's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy really liked the Ramones.
And then you have nothing else to say about him.
Yeah. So I Want to Be Sedated's a good tune.
That's the only song I know with the Ramones.
Yeah. You like anybody else, like Alice Cooper or I'm kind of in a Pearl Jam, and that's kind of a different era, but that's the small talk you make, or somebody will come up and say something that happened in high school, and then you have to pretend like you remembered that specific event.
Hanging on to it for
40 years. But that's how they remember you.
Yeah,
and it's just this awkward social interaction of I went to a small high school, so there were a lot of us that went to school all the way from 6th grade to high school together, so we knew each other really well. So we had that group, and that's kind of the people who came back because. Those are the friends of the people we contacted. But, occasionally there's one that's like, oh, hey.
Stranger.
Good to see you, man. So. Okay, Dan Miter wants to ask you.
Okay.
What is your team? He's LSU. And where are you from? And you're from Oglesby, Texas.
I am from Oglesby, Texas, which is a small town west of here that has a little over 400 people in it.
Okay. What's it? Listen, tell people what it's most famous for.
Rattlesnakes.
Yes.
Hands down. It is most famous for rattlesnakes. The last weekend in February, they'll go and gather up a bunch of rattlesnakes and play with them and put on a show. And it's honestly really weird. But if you have never seen it, I would recommend it just once. And I would probably go to a bigger one. I wouldn't go to Oglesby. I'd go to Taylor or Sweetwater. But that's about it.
Have you been to all of them?
No, God,
oh,
no.
God,
Dude, I No, I avoid those like the plague.
But you're also not afraid of snakes.
No, I grab one. Ain't no thing.
Yeah, Smokey terrified.
He is very terrified. Like I've been looking on the lookout because I've seen a couple on my porch. Like I had to move one off my porch a couple of years ago, and next time I see one, I'm gonna film it. I'm gonna grab it and just send it to Smokey just to make him freak out.
Like a rattlesnake, you would do that with?
No, I'd get some clamps with the rattlesnake.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm not grabbing one of those.
You were not our producer when the rattlesnake roundup guys came into.
I was. When Smokey held the boa constrictor,
I
was there for that one. But that was only one.
The first time they came in, I did not tell him they were coming in.
Oh, that's great.
I just said we've got a promotion for this Oglesby thing. They're going to be in and out. And then as they got there, he looked out and he goes, "What is this?" I said, "Snakes." And he's like, he jumped behind the desk on the other side where the producer sat and then used the producer mic over Jason Behringer, who was our producer at the time, over his shoulder, using Jason as a human shield.
Oh, I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it. It's entertaining. So, yes, on here, the high school mascot was the Tigers.
Should have been the Rattlesnakes.
It really should have been.
A whiff.
They whiffed on a lot. And, yes, they do play six-man football. I played six-man football, which, if you haven't heard of that, it's interesting, I guess. Yeah. It's a niche thing. I know other states have it. Other states have 8-man as well. But, yeah, we did play six-man football.
The Oglesby Rattlers.
Dude, it would have been perfect. Yeah. It would have made sense. Like I remember in high school, we caught a baby rattlesnake and put it in our gym, actually. And we ended up naming him Pedro and everything. But, yeah, there's all sorts of random things over there that you can get into.
There are roadrunners, Dan, all over Texas, but in Oglesby, it's just a gigantic rattlesnake pit.
That, or you'll have like guineas, like those guineas just running loose, or chickens. Yeah. Like it's a free for all. It's like literally going back in time sometimes if you go to Oglesby. It's a trip.
All right, good day. Alan said we need to get badgers for them. They'll eat the snakes.
They will. The honey badgers definitely will.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, they've called me about coming into the studio at the end of February, and both times they've called since we've been in here, Smokey's had because I've told him, don't call him. He's going to tell you no.
Oh, yeah.
And he doesn't want to do it. But if you call me, I'll make sure it happens. And both times they've been like, "Oh, is he going to be there?" And I'm like, "Some damn doctor's appointment or something." He's not here.
How convenient.
Yeah. One time they were they came in and we were gone anyway. I will get them back though. Although one of the guys I do believe finally passed away.
Oh, Jackie Bibby?
Yeah.
Yeah, he lost his leg and everything else.
But the guys all come in there. They can't, they have different things. They move. They've been bit 700
I watched
times.
Jackie get bit in the head one time, and then I had to pull out the thing and try to get the venom out, and they bit him right in the forehead.
He just kept doing the show, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, just kept on going.
Got him a cold beer and kept doing the show.
Golly.
Yep.
Unbelievable. So.
That was that.
Anyway, when we come back, John McClain of the Houston Chronicle. This is 365 Sports.
Cars priced right, day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC. Penny Clinic Men's Healthcare in Woodway is now proud to offer you men an exceptional weight management body sculpting product called semaglutide, also known as Ozempic or Wegovy. Semaglutide is an FDA-approved weight management medication. once-a-week injections of this powerful medication offers an average body fat weight loss of 20% within the first year of treatment. In addition to body sculpting, semaglutide also normalizes blood sugars and has the clinical research proof of reducing blood pressure, cholesterol, stroke, and heart attack risk. If you're like most men and you have stubborn fat that will just not respond to typical diets and exercise, then help is finally here. Semaglutide, affordable, highly effective. Google search Petty Clinic Waco and reach out to the Petty Clinic team today for a free consultation with Dr. Petty to see if semaglutide is right for you. Go to pettycliniclowt.com.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
This is 365 Sports, powered by Sikkim365.com.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's Paul Catalina.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer, with us now. And John, it's NFL minicamp time, and we'll talk about that in a second. But you're leaving our fair city to go back to Houston. Hall of Fame stuff today?
Yes, we did. We met over at the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. Selection committee meets the first Tuesday of every June, and we come up with what will be the ballots for the modern era primary, and then the seniors, veterans, will vote on, I believe, in August. And the induction next year, I think, is February 19th. And Jay Black and Krista Martin and Genesis Mercado, they do a great job there. And we had a lot of debate. And one that I was going to nominate, Kenny Hand beat me to it. When I realized he wasn't in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, I was stunned, and I contacted Brad Sham, and he goes, "Too tall is not the Texas Sports Hall of Fame." I said, "Nope." So Kenny Hand nominated him. I seconded Brad Sham. A bunch of people talked about it. He's a veteran, but I feel strongly, based on what everybody said today, in favor of Ed Too Tall Jones, that he will be part of the class of 2024. I couldn't tell you another one for sure, Paul, that I believe will definitely be in, because there's so much competition with so many deserving candidates. But I'll keep my fingers crossed for Too Tall, and I believe he will be part of the class of 2025.
Well, John, I mean, Cowboys alone should probably have him in there, but I mean, he was just a great player, but he also had this, like larger than life personality, and then he went to go try to be a boxer. So like, he's so well known in the state of Texas for everything he did.
Too Tall Jones was 6-0 as the heavyweight boxer. And he was even better. He did it for one season. He was even better when he came back. The NFL created a statistic for pass deflections for Too Tall. In he's #1 overall pick, 74. And I believe in 1984, when he was 34, he had his career high, 13 sacks, and he knocked down 19 passes. I don't even know why people threw the ball over his side, on the tight end side. So that stat was created for him. He never missed a game. In 15 seasons, he never missed a game. When he retired, he played most games in history until Jason Witten broke it. But people ask me a lot of times why he's not in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and I tell them I think he and Harvey Martin kind of canceled each other out. So hopefully we can get him in the Texas Sports Hall of Fame. I know he's in the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame because I was there when he was inducted. So I think it'd be great for the Hall for us to vote him in there.
John, Justin Jefferson, the latest to get a big contract at wide receiver. Do you think that that Jerry Jones sees this and gets stressed at all, or is this all part of their plan? Because, again, CeeDee Lamb's price is going to go up. Whether Justin Jefferson deserves it more or who deserves it more, his price just went up because Justin Jefferson signed.
We all knew that Jefferson was going to sign the biggest contract for a wide receiver. And it's amazing to me, Paul, the ego of the players and, of course, the agents. Every time an agent signs a player for a big contract, that is advertising for him for his next client. And so, is CeeDee Lamb going to come back and say, no, I don't want just $30 million. That's not enough. I want to be the highest paid. And I think if he does that, he's going to have a problem because most people will tell you Justin Jefferson deserves to be the highest paid. Last week, the Texans got Nico Collins for $24 million a year. It's already looking like a bargain.
Yeah, absolutely. John, what do you think that means for Stephon Diggs as he hits the free agent market after this season with Houston?
Well, he's going to turn 30 this season. So the next season, 2025, he'll sign with somebody, Paul, but he'll turn 31 in November. You don't see a lot of receivers contracts in a season in which they're going to turn 31, unless it's a short-term deal for like 2 years, and guys don't get big money when they sign 2-year deals. So I think Diggs will play his butt off, but what I can't wait to see, I thought when they redid his contract, made it 1 year, it was smart because they get the very best out of it. But what if in a contract year, Nico Collins has 90 catches and Tank Dell has 75, and Diggs, who's had 6 1,000-yard seasons in a row, is limited to 60 for 850 yards. Is he going to cause problems? Based on his history, probably.
I know he talked about Josh Allen today and leaving Buffalo. What ultimately was it that made him want to get out of Buffalo? Was it just malcontent with the offense?
The truth is, Paul, I think it wasn't he wanting out of Buffalo. Buffalo had got tired of his antics. And he's not a bad guy. He's just very emotional. And today, if you got an emotional receiver, they're going to let you hear. They're going to let the world know on social media. They'll go on a podcast or they'll put it on Instagram if they don't think they're getting the ball enough. He had 106 catches, and he's been great. And he's never had an issue in his first couple of years with the team. With Minnesota, no problem. Then an issue. Wasn't getting the ball enough. They're changing quarterbacks every year. So he goes to Buffalo. Everything's great. And then when they fired the coordinator and they started running the ball more and they were winning, he wasn't getting the ball as much and he wasn't being used as much as he was. So he let people know he was unhappy. And one of the reasons Texas, when they traded for him, redid his contract, which had 3 years left, to make him a free agent, I thought it was brilliant because he's not going to rock the boat. In a perfect world, he'll be the Texans' leading receiver. I believe this. If everything I believe comes true, Paul, I think Nico Collins will have the most yards, Stephon Diggs will have the most catches, and Tank Dell will have the highest average per catch. And maybe that'll keep all three of them satisfied.
And then you throw Dalton Schultz in there too, and there's less balls to go around than maybe even Stephon realizes.
Yeah, they want to run the ball better than last year, which is one reason they signed Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon had 1,000-yard season. He had over 1,400 yards as a runner and receiver, and he also had 13 touchdowns. Joe Mixon over the last 4 years has averaged 12.3 touchdowns a year, so he's going to want the ball too. So you don't have two, but I'm guessing they better have some long drives with a lot of play.
Two more questions for you, John. Treylon Burks is now the fourth wide receiver at best with the Titans after they signed Calvin Ridley and Tyler Boyd and still have DeAndre Hopkins. Do you see them, trading him maybe at some point, because they also have Nick Westbrook-Akina there, and he's been very valuable. They're going to throw the ball a lot more with Brian Callahan than they did before, but the bottom line is he's been a bust so far.
He has been, and some of it was caused by injuries. But as I say on my Nashville show, don't give up on him. Nico Collins was hurt. He didn't do anything for his first couple of years. Then he got a quarterback who could throw the ball, and an offensive coordinator calls passing plays, and all of a sudden Nico Collins making $24 million a year before his contract was up. So the same thing can happen with Burke. Now, if you're going to trade for him, what are they going to get for him? Hopkins, I'm not saying he's at the end of the road, but D-Hop is not what he used to be when he played here his first year in Arizona. Calvin Ridley is very inconsistent, drops a lot of passes. Tyler Boyd, he's fine. He played for their new coach, Brian Callahan. And so they do have a lot of weapons, but they drafted Burks in the first round for a reason out of Arkansas. So I'd give him one more season, and then I'd get rid of him for a 7th-round pick.
What do you think about the Bears on Hard Knocks? Did they make the right choice?
This is the most interest in the Bears since Buddy Ryan and Mike Ditka were there in 1985, and they won the Super Bowl. It's one of the most dominant teams in the history. That he's received, I think it's a good move. It's weird. Texas played them in the Hall of Fame game, and then the Texans play them in the first game of the season. So we're going to see a lot of the Bears, including on Hard Knocks. So I'm looking forward to it. It's the only time the Bears have been even remotely interesting to me.
Yeah, absolutely. John, one more thing I forgot to ask. Your thoughts on the passing of Larry Allen.
Boy, what a shame. Larry Allen's in history. I think he replaced John Hanna as the greatest guard ever. I felt bad on vacation with his family. What a player. What a terrible loss for the Cowboys at such a young age.
Absolutely, John. John, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again next week.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you very much as always.
John McClain, Hall of Fame writer there with us. And I keep reading about Larry Allen, and it's always a bummer, especially when one of your favorite players from your youth, and he was being a Cowboys fan in South Florida I was kind of on an island. There was always, front runners willing to run with me a little bit, but I remember I would always when you had that debate of Emmitt Smith and Barry Sanders, all right, well, I get it. I get that Aikman's not Montana or Young, but he's still really good. On that one. Yeah. But Jerry Rice, Michael Irvin, Michael Irvin's a Hall of Famer too, but come on, let's talk about Jerry. This. It's Jerry. So all the people who were the front running 49er fans always kind of had that, one step over it, and they'd be Derek Deese. I'm yeah, he's good, but he's no Larry Allen. He's absolutely no Larry Allen. No one is Larry Allen. That dude is was a mauler. I watched the video probably 5 times yesterday of him benching 700 pounds.
It was so awesome.
And then I can't remember who it was. Maybe it was Terrence Newman. I think they dove over him. Yeah, it was. My God. He was just such a great player. Anyway, when we come back, the top 5 college football traditions. This is 365 Sports.
It's the season to rev up your drive with Alan Samuels with the new Dodge Chrysler Jeep Ram in Waco. Your ultimate destination for unbeatable deals and top-notch service. Looking for a reliable ride to conquer these beautiful spring days? Look no further. The powerful trucks and sleek sedans are the perfect SUV. We've got the perfect vehicle to match your style and budget. Over 300 new vehicles to choose from. Now's the time to make your move. Enjoy special discounts, low financing rates, and incredible incentives. But hurry, these offers won't last forever. Alan Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs. Even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
TFNB, your bank for life, is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
Pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
It's time for Paul Catalina's Top 5, brought to you by Texas Beef House. Where's the best beef in Texas? Your house when you order from Texas Beef House. Unleash the flavor of Texas-raised Wagyu. From our pasture to your plate, TexasBeefHouse.com.
Welcome in to Paul Catalina's Top 5. No fancy greeting today, because I couldn't think of one. You live, you learn. You have good days and bad. I've had internet in my house in 3 days until 4 days until now, so I'm just back to the world again and trying to find my way through. And thanks once again, and you'll hear me talk about him for maybe the rest of my life, as St. Mike of McAllen of AT&T, who came and fixed my internet today. I've called the Pope. He's going to be canonized. And thanks to Texas Beef House for their sponsorship today. Top 5 college football traditions. These are not, yesterday I did fight songs. Today I did cool things that happen in stadiums that I think are really fun and you should be a part of. Number 5, jump around at Wisconsin. I have never been there. I really want to go in September, not November. Wisconsin, November, not a place I want to be. But I would love to be there for this moment when the stadium gets rocking. I talked about the Aggie War Hymn yesterday. When the whole stadium is in on something and doing the same motion, and you can feel it. I mean, at Kyle Field, you can feel it in the press box. I'm pretty sure at Camp Randall, you can too. You can feel the stadium moving. It is such energy, and one of the best game day atmospheres in the country at Camp Randall in Madison. Number 4, Dixieland Delight at Alabama. When they play this, it's like, it's a very relaxing song by the band Alabama. and it makes you really feel like you've gotten the full Alabama experience in Tuscaloosa. When I was there, I heard them play it because they drilled A&M in the game I was there. But it's the moment of pure defeat of the opponent when the song that they sing isn't even that upbeat. It's very relaxed. Like, we knew this was going to happen the whole time, and now goodbye to our visitors. Hope you enjoy this classic from a band that we share the name of. But Dixieland Delight, very cool tradition at Bama, and hate to just keep throwing them on lists. Country Roads at West Virginia. I'm sorry I did not pick a GIF of actual Morgantown, but this is what came up when I put it in the search, and I just thought it was too funny and awesome not to do it from a great episode of The Office here of Andy and Dwight singing Take Me Home, Country Roads. But look, when you have that win and you're singing about your home state like that, much like Dixieland Delight, I mean, come on. Can you beat Country Roads? I don't know if you can. I absolutely don't know if you can, but we're going to try here in the next couple. But West Virginia fans, put in the comments how you kind of feel about this one. Like, when you hear Country Roads, like, what is the feeling inside you? I'm very curious. By the way, John Denver on this list twice. On back-to-back days, we've got John Denver. So who knew he was so badass? John Denver. Number 2, Neck at LSU. Garrett, feel free to chime in here.
Nothing like it. Probably would not go over at most universities out there, but it is perfect for LSU, especially when you get like an 8-year-old out there just letting people know what's up.
Yeah. Here's the thing I like about this, because I put in Neck, LSU, all right? See, look behind here. This guy's doing it. Right here, this guy, he's trying to do it. Everybody else is on it. This guy doesn't even know. He has no idea that is going on. He's just fired up about whatever just happened. And then somebody's going to say, like, hey, you missed Neck. And he's like, oh, crap, really? Oh, man. All right, well, better luck next time. And number 1, Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech. I do hope to see Virginia Tech. I know that there's a lot of people in our viewing audience who do remember their glory days under Frank Beamer, when going in and playing there was really tough. You were going to get a punt blocked or something. The game was not going to go your way. It was going to be the hardest place you ever had to play and win. And they come out running to Enter Sandman. And I'm glad Jack and Garrett reminded me of this one. My high school ripped this off, as a matter of fact. We used to run out to Enter Sandman until somebody said, like, hey, you should come out to Welcome to the Jungle. We were the Vikings. Didn't matter either way. But we did Enter Sandman and Welcome to the Jungle. But yes, totally ripped this off because it was such a cool thing and super intense. And look, it's time that Virginia Tech is number 1 in something, isn't it? It's time that they are. But I hope they do get back to the glory days of Beamer ball and can do some things, because that was, I mean, watching them do that in those days and the way that they used to be very intimidating to play, it'd be nice to see them get back there, because, again, that's not a huge school. It's a very specific fan base. This is way cooler when they do the hokey pokey. That, to me, although I'll tell you this, Virginia Tech fans watching, I've never been mind-effed more than when I was in New Orleans in 2000, New Year's Day 2000, or the day after. I don't remember. It's all a blur. But I was walking down Bourbon Street, and then a bunch of people started doing the hokey pokey all together, and really kind of got in my head for about an hour. Like 1,000 people on Bourbon Street doing the hokey pokey, and I'm just wrecked by it. So I can make fun of it all I want, but I will tell you, like, when other schools like chant obscenities at you, and then other ones doing the hokey pokey, the obscenities are less scary than the hokey pokey in certain regards. And I go, wow, that it shouldn't be scary, but it's in my head now. But that's how I felt about that. But Enter Sandman, one of the most badass songs of all time as well. Even though, Metallica is the reason I can't steal music anymore. So, I know that's a long, way back joke to Napster that most of the people in the room didn't even get to experience. But it's Metallica's fault. That and, the guys who are stealing music. But Inter Sandman at Virginia Tech, number 1. That's going to do it for us. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Josh Neighbors. Thanks to Will Backus. Thanks to all the people who helped out in the show today. Thanks to you guys in the chat. We'll be back in tomorrow. Our own Levi Caraway, young, talented Levi Caraway, who's very intimidated to be on the set. And he should be. He'll be my guest co-host tomorrow. Please like and subscribe. And if you're here in Waco tonight in the local CW, don't forget about 365 Sports Tonight. Have a great one, everybody.